Hello and welcome. It's game day tonight and you're watching CSBN's Game Changer as Chapman football looks to stay undefeated in the SCIAC conference against the Pomona-Pitzer Stagehands. My name is Angela Hara. Alongside me tonight, our analyst Nico Schwegler and Grace Luttrell. Guys, initial first thoughts, how are we feeling tonight, Grace?
I'm feeling super excited for this game. I think both teams are going to have a lot of fun on the field tonight. Both teams have a lot at stake, but for different reasons. And I think, Chapman, especially being at home and it's their senior night, there's going to be a lot of pressure on them to make it a good game and have fun. So I think it'll be a fun game to watch.
Absolutely. And Nico, initial first thoughts?
Yeah, as Grace mentioned, when you talk about senior night, there's not many more that are more emotional than this. Certainly hoping that some of them can shine out there on the field tonight against Pomona-Pitzer.
Yeah, and that being said, we're going to take a look at the last couple of matches between these two teams. We can see here it's been pretty alternate in terms of who's been winning. Chapman some years, Pomona some years. Grace, what are you seeing here?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that Chapman has that historical edge against Pomona since they've won the majority of their matchups. But we've also seen that Pomona if they can stay in the game, avoid mistakes, and generate momentum, they can upset Chapman. And we've seen that in the past. But Chapman's coming in after a win earlier in the season against Pomona, so it'll be interesting to see how that confidence in Chapman will show out.
Yeah, to your point, Grace, when you take a look at what Pomona did last year, winning both games against Chapman, a lot of that were self-inflicted wounds from Chapman, especially in that regular season game. They blew the 21-point halftime lead to Pomona-Pitzer in the SCIAC championship game. If they're able to take care of the ball, Pomona-Pitzer played well in those games, don't get me wrong. But Chapman, usually, if they're able to come out on top, all of a sudden, this is the team to beat in the SCIAC over the past 4 years or so.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nico, I want to get a little bit more specific. Pomona's last match, they just played Laverne. What are your thoughts on that?
Very interesting one, to say the least, Angie. I mean, when you take a look at what Pomona-Pitzer did, it wasn't much until really midway through the fourth quarter. Laverne winning this one 26-8 against Pomona-Pitzer. Jamie Rumsey had a fantastic game. We saw BJ Running come in for Laverne at quarterback. Obviously, there were some bright spots for Pomona-Pitzer on the defensive side in particular, but that offense really struggled to move the ball with Nick Kim as well as Luke Levitt in at quarterback. We'll talk a little bit about the absence of Grady Russo. This defense, if they can play like this against Chapman, all of a sudden gives them a chance, to your point earlier, Grace, being able to keep it close until the fourth quarter. But all of a sudden, if you're allowing mistakes like this to happen, against a team like Laverne, who hadn't won a game since November 11th of 2023. It was their first win in 16 games. All of a sudden, there's a reason why Pomona-Pitzer did lose this game to Laverne. It wasn't a pretty one, to say the least, and certainly going against a Chapman team that's 5-0 in here, as well as they haven't committed very many mistakes over the past few weeks, all of a sudden, Pomona-Pitzer, it definitely will be an uphill battle.
A little nerve-wracking, Nico. And Grace, on the flip side, Chapman versus CMS, that was their last match. What can you tell us about that? Yeah,
they had an electric game against CMS last weekend. We saw that they were able to play under pressure. They went into 2 overtime, but they were able to get the lead early on in the game. CMS did catch up, but they are able to really lean on their leader, Tyler Pacheco, who we'll talk about a little bit later. He's able to move the ball against the defensive line of CMS, and that precision was able to set the tempo and pace for the rest of the team, which they were able to really play off of. We saw a lot of great plays from them. We saw, not only passes, but Pacheco was also able to move the ball with his own feet. And so we really want to keep an eye on him tonight. I think he'll be a key player. I think that he also was able to, score that winning touchdown in overtime to secure Chapman's win. So they're really going to be wanting to go off that confidence of the last win into this game and really play off the strengths that they showed off last week.
Yeah, absolutely. Playing off on that confidence. And speaking about confidence, let's get into the Chapman strengths. Grace, what are you seeing for this team?
Yeah, obviously, we've said it a lot already. Tyler Pacheco, the offensive team, they've had a solid run this season with almost over 200 yards rushed per game. They've able to average around 27 points per game. They're really been able to move the ball, which has been a key factor into their success. So we've also been able to see that they have that balanced approach between a strong rushing component and an aerial component. So Pacheco's able to not only pass the ball, but he's also able to run it with it too. So this allows them to have that versatility on the field, and it's helped them move the ball, which is important. We want every point to count. We want, every touchdown to count. Those points matter, especially in tight games against teams like Pomona or CMS. So it will be something to watch, especially since they've shown they can play under pressure. But, Pomona and Chapman have that rivalry, so they're going to want to keep it up.
Yeah, 100% agree. I have to say, though, as well, as you just saw there, the pass defense of Chapman has been the focal point of this defense, leading the SCIAC this season, guys. And certainly, it came to play against CMS, as well as it has come to play over the past few weeks. They haven't gotten as many interceptions as they have in the past few seasons. However, when they're able to get pressure on the quarterback, Tyler Boynton had a fantastic game, a career night for the sophomore against CMS. When you have all of those players in the front seven, both starters, backups, third stringers, whoever it may be, all of a sudden, so difficult to beat this Chapman defense, and that just puts the ball back into the hands of Tyler Pacheco, and they go cook every single time.
Yeah, Nico. And, I want to flip it on over to the Pomona side. What are some strengths that you're seeing for that team?
Yeah, I'd have to say that it's also the defense in particular. It starts and ends with the defense, particularly similar to Chapman, that defensive line. Alden Kling, Jacob Whitting leading the front. And when you have a team that has allowed the fewest points per game in the SCIAC, it's no mistake why. They did allow 26 to Laverne unanswered to open up that game. However, this team has been stout all season long, rocking the blue and orange. And when this team is able to get going, especially when they're able to force turnovers, 6 forced fumbles, 6 fumble recoveries, pair that with 9 interceptions, good for second in the SCIAC. They're second in forced turnovers this season in the SCIAC, just behind Redlands. And when this team is able to change the game like that, even with all the questions that they may have on offense, with all the losses, with a few of the injuries that they have, when you get the ball back on offense, anything can happen. And this Pomona defense certainly has come to play in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely, Nico. And I want to get into our man to watch tonight. We've got Chapman's senior quarterback, Tyler Pacheco. And as for Pomona, on the opposite end, quite literally, we have the junior defensive lineman, Alden King. But first, I want to get into Pacheco. Grace, what are we looking for in terms of what to see tonight?
Yeah, Pacheco has, he's shined this season. He's currently the SCIAC leader in rushing yards with a 74 average. He's also ranked 3rd for passing in the SCIAC. So this season, he's been a standout player, and he's been able to set the tone for the team. Pomona's got that front seven, but, if they can contain him and keep him in the pocket, they can frustrate him, get him to throw early. But Pacheco isn't just a pocket passer. He's able to use his legs, extend plays, and run effectively on design plays or scrambles. So, we saw during the game against CMS, he had key rushes and led the long drive that secured the win. And so he sets the pace for the team, especially since he's a senior. This game is important to him in many different ways. So I think he will be a key player and a key leader in this game for the team, who they're definitely going to look to him for times of need, and they're going to make sure that he knows when to throw the ball, when to run, and I think it'll be super fun to see him play.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be looking for that connection with Tyler as the QB. And Nico, on the Pomona side, we have Kling. What are you looking forward to seeing tonight?
I mean, when you think about this Pomona-Pitzer defense, we'll talk about Tyler Pacheco all night long. He has been the guy in the SCIAC, but if you're Pomona-Pitzer, you need your guy on defense to be able to stop the guy in the SCIAC. That's exactly what Alden Kling has been all season long. He was a second-team All-SCIAC last year as a sophomore. As a junior, he's taken that next step to being the proper disruptor of this Pomona-Pitzer defense, coming in for a defense that lost 2 first-team All-SCIACers last year. 6'6", a junior out of Washington, D.C. His brute strength that he has going forward into the chest of an offensive lineman. He has the speed to bend around the edge. He can play on the outside like you see here. He can line up on the inside and disrupt the rush, disrupt the pass. He is just a freak of nature on that defensive line. And certainly, when you pair him with the likes of Jacob Whitting, as well as a few of those key players on defense for Pomona-Pitzer, all of a sudden, it makes things a lot more difficult for the likes of Tyler Pacheco to keep going forward, especially with how potent this rush offense has been for Chapman.
Yeah, and you've said it before, Nico. He's the 6'6" foot defender, and he's moving around, and it's going to be exciting to see him out on the field tonight.
I mean, absolutely. When you just see pound for pound how good he is as a junior now, I can't wait to see what he does next year as a senior.
Yeah, that's right. And, we've talked about some strengths on both of these teams, but I want to go into the weaknesses. What are some things that both of these teams can work on? We'll start with you, Grace, on the Chapman side.
Yeah, definitely. Chapman's shown their dominance on the field this season, but sometimes they are unable to maintain that rhythm, in the game. We saw it most during their game against Hardin Simmons earlier this season, where they did end up losing. But they also have some struggles with protection. We've seen Pacheco take some hits because of it, so this could also throw their tempo off. But one thing that we've also noticed is, they've really had some struggles with kicking. So, with getting those punts in, getting those field goals in is important. Those 3 points matter, especially in tight games. So that's something they really want to focus on is their special teams. Getting those kicks in, getting them in is going to be probably the deciding factor on whether or not they win or lose tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nico, on that Pomona side, what are some weaknesses that we're looking forward?
I mean, the buck stops with Grady Russo. With Grady Russo out of the lineup, the starting quarterback, for Pomona-Pitzer, all of a sudden this offense just does not look the same. Luke Levitt, the true freshman, the senior Nick Kim, you see him here, they just simply can't run the offense as effectively as Grady Russo, mainly because of Russo's ability on the ground with his legs. He is the main focal point of that rush offense. They use their running backs a little bit more like receiving backs out of the backfield rather than using them as a traditional running back. As a result, without Russo in the lineup, all of a sudden, it becomes a very one-dimensional offense that is going for short passes over the middle, out to the flat, and if Nick Kim, Luke Levitt aren't able to complete some of those passes, costly turnovers like that will certainly hinder their ability to contend in this game. And we talked about the strength of the defense. Certainly, though, if they can get tired out on that defensive side of the ball, and the Pomona offense isn't able to keep it going, all of a sudden, it's pretty much game, set, and match for Chapman to come away with this one.
Yeah. And Grace, what are going to be some key points in tonight's game for the Chapman side?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that they're really going to want to do is hit those short routes early, little hitches, slant screens, and loosen up the box. They're also, going to want to avoid turnovers. That's when we really see Chapman get in danger of this season is when, they get sloppy with the ball, whether it's a fumble or anything like that. Everything matters, especially in these games. So avoiding those turnovers is going to be essential, especially we also want to see that they, make more decisive plays and less conservative plays when they're in that red zone. So, we've seen them kind of miss some touchdowns that should have been and had to go to the field goals. But those touchdowns do matter. So that's something that is going to be key for them is making sure they're executing everything well.
Yeah, and then kind of on that same note, what, Grace, would you say, what's going to be the Chapman mentality going out into this field? What is head coach going to be telling the Chapman Panthers?
Yeah, definitely. I think, the pressure's off a little bit on the Panthers. They've seeded themselves first in SCIAC. They're hosting a conference, but, for this game, really, pressure may be off, but they still want that win. They want to stay in that number one spot. They want to stay undefeated. It's not only a great look, but it's a great feeling. That conference will be great for the players. And I think that, senior night, it's going to be emotional. The seniors are going to want to take it all in. They're going to want to, be with their teammates and really have a successful game to end their college career off.
Exactly. They want to protect their record. And Nico, on that Pomona side, what are some keys we're looking at?
It all comes down to the red zone ultimately. When you're going against a team like Chapman, which is the best red zone offense in the league, if you're Pomona-Pitzer, you cannot be settling for 3 points every single time. Do not be surprised if you see John Walsh, as well as this coaching staff for Pomona-Pitzer, see those red zone opportunities as 4-down territory. We very well could see this team using the likes of a wildcat formation, maybe throwing a few trick plays in there to keep this Chapman defense off balance. Certainly, as this game continues to progress, that's something that I can definitely see, especially if this Pomona defense can keep it close, and then all of a sudden we're in the fourth quarter. Any single play can definitely make an impact in this game, but certainly it's about taking those red zone opportunities. It's something that they struggle with, especially earlier in the season and kind of in the middle as well, and certainly for this team, being on a 3-game losing streak, they're trying to avoid their first 4-game losing streak in nearly 3 years. Definitely needs something to happen on the offensive side, especially if Grady Russo isn't able to go. Definitely looking to see maybe Mitchell Rodenbaugh line up under center, keep Chapman's defense off balance, and we'll see if they're able to squeak out with a win.
Yeah, good strategies, Nico, but who's going to win?
I mean, I've given some reasons why Pomona-Pitzer certainly can do it. That defensive front can get to Tyler Pacheco, but you have to go with the way that Chapman is playing right now. There's a reason why they're 5-0 in the conference. There's a reason why they only lost by 7 points to Hardin Simmons in the opening game, who's number 6 in the country, still undefeated for the Texas team. And with the way that Chapman's playing right now, with the way that these seniors, I expect, are going to come out with a fire, especially in that first half. They know what's at stake. They already beat Pomona-Pitzer earlier this year. However, getting a little bit of revenge from last year's loss in the SCIAC championship game certainly will also feel nice, knowing that they really put Pomona-Pitzer to bed.
Yeah, I like how you said that. That revenge will feel nice, and they'll put them to bed. Grace, who's going to win tonight?
You know, not to be on the bandwagon, but I have to go with Chapman. You know, their confidence going into this season really shone through. They're still on that high from that win from CMS last week, so I think that's really going to carry them in. And I think also we have such strong leaders on the team, especially our seniors. They're going to be carrying this team. They're going to want to make this a fun game. And usually when you see players having fun on the field, that means they're going to do well on the field in real time. So I think it'll be super exciting to see just how much fun they can have in this game and how much they can use this game to boost themselves for championships. You want to go into that championship game with a win. You want to have that confidence. And I think they've shown that when they win, the confidence shows. And the confidence shows on the field on how well they play. So I think, you know, they're going to lean in on their strengths a lot. And I think after this, they'll really have that confidence.
Absolutely. Well, great insight from both, but you know, it's going to be interesting to see. Will Pomona be seeking revenge tonight and score with Chapman's first conference loss? There's a lot at stake here for the Chapman Panthers, but one thing is for sure tonight, guys, it's going to be an emotional one, especially for some of the parents and loved ones that are in the stands, as tonight is senior night for the Chapman Panthers, and it can be an emotional journey. As we know, some of these players have been playing for all up until their senior year with the team since the start of their college career. Nico, you had the opportunity to sit down with 5 senior players on the team who got to watch firsthand some special messages from their loved ones. Take a look.
All right. Dear Mikey.
Hey, son.
Dear Jason.
Well, hey, Kyle.
Dear Ty, we are so proud of you, not just for being the starting quarterback, for the man you've become.
Just how you move, how you run, how you catch that ball. It's simply nothing short of amazing.
You've made your mark, son, not just at Chapman, but in the way you've lived your values every day.
Your leadership, your drive, your determination with everything you've gone through.
We're so happy that you have found Chapman and that you found Chapman football. You've made some amazing friends, and it's been life-changing for you.
A pleasure just being a part of your journey through the highs and the lows, you know, through your injuries, through your successes and your failures.
Learning teamwork, resilience, and grace through every win and loss. It's been an honor to stand on the sidelines and to cheer you on.
The real victory isn't in the numbers. It's how you carried yourself, the effort you gave when no one was watching, and the loyalty you showed to the brothers who stood beside you from the very first to now.
Not only did you stay on track, you kept your friends and your teammates on track, and everybody looked up to you in college.
And we can't wait to see what life has ahead for you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Wow, that was awesome.
That's awesome. That's cool.
It's hard work, but it's rewarding. I mean, you're not only going to get a great education, you're going to be part of a great football team. And
Coming out here every day for practice, it's always a good time being with my boys every day. You never know what's going to happen.
I've had a lot of great memories here. I've met some of my best friends. And then just like having my parents here at every game, they've been to try to come to as many games as they can because it's my senior year.
it's all about embracing, buying into the program, buying into that grind, and mostly just enjoying it, because everyone says it goes by fast, but it truly does. I feel like I just got here last year as a freshman, and now it's almost over. So just enjoy it, love it.
Yeah, I mean, just the friends I made here, people that are going to be in my wedding someday and all that stuff, and it's been a hell of a ride.
Well, Nico, it's always so emotional to see all of these guys. How was that?
Oh, it was brilliant, Angie. I mean, when you talk about these guys, the amount of emotion they play with on the field every single week, but being able to see them interact with their parents, it was so lovely talking with the parents in the previous week, being able to get to know them as people, as well as just how much they love their sons, how much they've appreciated the journey that these boys have gone on ever since, going from being a boy in Pop Warner in middle school and high school to now being men graduating college and hopefully with a chance to win another SCIAC championship under their belt.
Absolutely. That has got to be a great feeling, Grace, to be a senior and to get that SCIAC championship. Well, guys, we're going to see just how it folds out tonight. Will Chapman continue with a 6-0 conference record by the end of tonight, or will Pomona stand in their way? That is the question. Coming up, we're continuing all the coverage here with CSBN's Robert, Richie, and Caro. I'm Angela Hara, alongside with Nico Schwegler and Grace Luttrell. This has been Game Changer.
start of today's game, we would like to honor the 21 seniors playing in their final regular season home game. In their 4 years, the Panthers have put together a record of 25 wins and 12, including a 21-6 SCIAC record, 3 SCIAC championship game appearances, and a SCIAC championship in 2023. Coach Sean, his staff, and the entire Chapman Athletics Department would like to honor these men for their hard work and dedication to Chapman football. Let's welcome our seniors. First off, wide receiver, number 2, Kane Zimmerman. And linebacker, number 26, Tate Zimmerman. Tonight, the Zimmerman brothers are with their parents, Kyle and Holiday, including Kate's fiance, Ellie, and Tate's fiance, Ava. For our next senior, defensive back number 4, Devin Cobb. He is with his parents, Keith and Michelle. Our next senior quarterback, number 6, Tyler Pacheco. He is with his parents, Glenn and Katie. Next senior wide receiver, number 13, Gabe Mendez. He is with his parents, Martha and Renee. Our next senior defensive back, number 14, Wade Smith.
Yes. Hello.
Wade is with his parents, Michael and Elizabeth. Linebacker number 16, Kyle Seabass. Kyle is accompanied with his parents, Tennessee and Paul. Wide receiver number 18, Jason Bruce. Jason was accompanied with his parents, Janine and Jason. Defensive back number 19, Thomas Vittorio. Thomas is with his parents, Kim and Jen. And now linebacker number 39, AJ Scheffler. AJ is accompanied with his parents, Susan and John. Linebacker number 44, Joey Bustos. Joe is accompanied with his parents, Joe and Patricia. Tight end number 47, Jackson Muzzy. Jackson is with his parents, Claudia and Mike. Offensive line, the number 63 is Harry Pono. Harry is with his parents, Carrie and Sandra. Offensive line, the number 64, Michael McCarter. Michael is with his parents, Lauren Jr. JR, excuse me. Defensive lineman number 75, Gavin Scott. Tonight, he is with his mother, Amy. Offensive lineman number 77, Darren Chapman. Accompanied with his parents, Clint and Severe. Tight end number 85, Nate Crowell. He's accompanied with his parents, Ann and Peter. Defensive lineman number 94, Tyler Hill. Tyler is with his parents, Ty and Cheryl. Defensive lineman number 96, David Serrano. David is with his parents, Loretta and Manuel. Defensive lineman number 98, Andre Vasily. With his parents, Luther and Stella. And defensive lineman number 99, Ryan King. Ryan is accompanied with his parents, Stephen and Karen. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it one more time for your Chapman football class of 2025. Friends, at this time we ask you to please rise, if you're able, as we honor our country with the singing of our national anthem. Performed today by Chapman University junior psychology student, Kayla Romero. At this time, the captains from both sides will meet at midfield for the point times.
Gentlemen, I'm Trey Hernandez, the referee. This is my call. Eagle hands. Breakfast is military. It's tails. Pomona-Pitzer and visiting kingdom is a call. Tails is a call. Here's tails, you on the toss. Pomona-Pitzer is on the toss. Who's the front of the choice in the second half? Chapman really received
The quarterback of Chapman with the ball, passes it over to Brendan Manzano, but it gets knocked away and for an incompletion. I do want to take a moment on this broadcast to apologize to our viewers for the technical difficulties that we witnessed earlier on, but now our program is back into gear and we are ready to broadcast some Chapman Panther football over to you.
All right, great to be with you here tonight, Rob. My name is Richie Amarias. I will be covering the color commentary. And again, apologies for the technical difficulties here as we see this great matchup here, Sage Hens and Panthers. As they're going to have to punt here.
Punt indeed. That punt doesn't go very far for the Panthers, but it looks like the ball continues to roll down a little bit. Not necessarily the worst placement for the Panthers. That ends up on the Sage Hens 20-yard line. Not quite coffin placement punting right there, but a decent punt nonetheless for this Panthers special teams. And now the Sage Hens will have a chance to put together a successful offensive drive.
Absolutely, and the Sage Hens took a tough loss last week to the worst team in the entire SCIAC conference, Laverne, and so that's a little bit of extra motivation here for this offense. Of course, this offense, with the injury of Grady Rousseau, are going to be rolling out, I believe, number 12, Nick Kim, the third-string quarterback who's made a few spot starts these past few weeks and also last year as well.
And now here's Kim about to get his snap underway. Passes it over to number 25 of the Sage Hens. That was actually, excuse me, not number 25, but number 29, Brendan Dragomir, one of the key wide receivers of the Sage Hens offense. He is leading the team in receiving yards for the Sage Hens team.
Absolutely, he's actually out of the backfield playing running back.
Here's the snap, shotgun snap. Incomplete pass, and it's going to wind up in a Sage Hens third down.
It's going to be a third down, Robin. As we can see there, Jacob Gowdy, the former 2024 All-SCIAC first-team safety beast of a stud player here for this Panthers defense, lays down the hammer, looking like Jack Tatum out there for those old Oakland Raiders back in the day when my grandfather used to watch here. Some physicality here early, Rob, and we're going to see what the Sage Hens have cooking on third down.
That's a very funny story right there, Richie. The Raiders, very physical team, and now here's the Sage Hens. Here on third down, Nick Kim finding his man. He makes a completion, and he gets through that Chapman defense for a Sage Hens first down. That was, again, number 29, Brendan Dragomir with the reception. And now the Sage Hens have another fresh set of downs to go forward and continue with this first offensive drive.
Absolutely, Rob. Let's see here what the Sage Hens do. They love to throw the ball.
Here's a snap, goes underway, gets immediately tackled right there by number 26 from the Chapman side. That was Tate Zimmerman, the outside linebacker. He's leading the SCIAC when it comes to tackles and is a key defensive player on this Chapman squad.
Absolutely, of course, you cannot discuss the Chapman Panthers without talking about the brother of Cade Zimmerman, Tate Zimmerman, the second team All-SCIAC last year with SCIAC best 13 tackles for loss last year. Of course, 31 total tackles this year in spite of missing a game, and he's been a beast this entire season, looking like Max Crosby out there.
And now here's Nick Kim, almost dropping the snap right there, finds his receiver right there, and he gets tackled just above the line of scrimmage right there, and it winds up in another Sage Hens third down, this time with about a deficit of about 7 yards for a first down.
Absolutely, Rob, and this Chapman defense again has been solid and physical, very, very physical early, again looking like those 1960s and 70s Raiders defensive teams, of course, with Gowdy getting the comparison to one of my favorite players of all time, Jack Tatum. Let's see what we have here on third down.
And here's the snap, shotgun snap underway. Finds the receiver, that was number 17, Mitchell Rodenbaugh with the reception, and it winds up just short of a first down, and that will bring a Sage Hens fourth down, and here comes the Sage Hens special teams.
And a few Panthers were all on that. Tate Zimmer making the clobber tackle from the back here, and we're gonna take a little bit of a timeout as we appear to have a Panther down on the field. Hopefully it's nothing more than a sprain or a cramp, but Rob, of course, this game is a rematch from a few weeks prior here where the Sage Hens were beaten by the Panthers 17-10, and so this game means a lot as we see Panthers taking a knee here again. Hopefully it's nothing more than a few cramps. Again, a very physical game thus far as there's some bad blood. Again, rivals, conference rivals, because of the size of the conference, every single matchup is a rivalry, but here we hope nothing but the best and a speedy recovery for the Panther down.
Absolutely, Richie. We don't like to see that when that happens on the field. These injuries are a big part of the game of football, and whenever they do occur, they can be very demoralizing to a team, and so we want to wish our best to that player. But Richie, I do want to take a moment to kind of highlight a little bit the history that you talked about between these two teams. As you mentioned earlier, Richie, this Sage Hens team and this Chapman Panther squad did face off against each other earlier this season. Chapman was able to walk away with a very critical win against the Sage Hens a few weeks ago, 17-10. Though I think it's also worth pointing out, Richie, that there's a difference between both teams' situations in the SCIAC right now. On one hand, the Sage Hens hand, you have a team that is already mathematically eliminated from the SCIAC championship game, getting the top seed. Doesn't matter how many games they win, if they win tonight and next weekend, they're still not making it to the championship game. And then on the other hand, you have the Chapman team that has already punched their ticket to the SCIAC championship game, and they could afford a couple losses. Of course, Coach Shine wants to avoid that.
Absolutely. Good thing that player was not seriously injured, was able to walk up on his own volition here as we resume play, the punt here from Jack Walker.
And now here's the Sage Hens special teams about to go underway. Already a flag on the play. Let's toss it down to the sidelines to hear what our referees have to say for the verdict. And it appears that there was a false start from the Sage Hens special teams, and now that will set them back an additional 5 yards to rerun the punt play.
Very minor infraction and a minor improvement here for the Chapman Panthers, who look to get something going and after not much going on that first drive here, and we're going to see a re-punt from the very solid punter, Jack Walker.
And here's the punt underway. And it appears that Eugene Miyata will wave for a fair catch, and the Chapman Panthers will start with a fresh set of downs on the just short of the 30-yard line. And now Chapman with another chance to put together a successful scoring drive.
Absolutely, Rob. As we've seen across the entirety of collegiate and general football history, we've seen a lot of dominant teams run the ball and run the rock. It's only very recently that teams have started to rely on the air game and throwing the ball through the air. But this Panthers team, while they do have Cade Zimmerman, a very solid player, it is very, very clear that they are a run-heavy team here.
And here's the snap underway. Pacheco running a little bit to the right, looks to the right, gets a reception to Cade Zimmerman, who is tackled and gets a big Chapman first down. Cade Zimmerman gets that reception just short of the 45-yard line, and now Chapman will move the chains yet again.
Cade Zimmerman, we missed it in our pregame show as it had to be canceled, but Cade Zimmerman is our Chapman player of the game here on the replay here, looking like Mike Evans, 6'3" out of Irvine, California, 185 pounds of pure muscle and strength on that reception. We're going to be seeing a lot of him today after having 100 yards last week.
Indeed, as we saw Zimmerman. Oh, and it appears that there's a little bit of a stop right there by the Sage Hens defense. They were able to make a good defensive read on that rushing play attempt by the Panthers, and it will wind up in a Panthers second down.
And that was Andrew Latu, and if you didn't tune in last week, Andrew Latu won Offensive Player of the Week. He had a hat trick, 3 touchdowns in that absolutely thrilling double overtime win over Claremont McKenna here at Ernie Chapman Stadium. 2 running backs in the backfield there, the dominant trio, Pacheco, Huss, and Latu.
And there's the fake handoff. Oh, and a missed opportunity right there by Cade Zimmerman. That's going to wind up in a Panthers third down. A little bit of a miscommunication right there between quarterback Pacheco and Cade Zimmerman.
We see a rare drop from Cade Zimmerman, the most reliable offensive weapon other than Tyler Pacheco on the field. And as we see the replay here, runs a bit of an out route and just absolutely swallowed up by Trevor Carson, the cornerback, one there out on the boundary. And third down again for these Panthers. Again, we didn't get to discuss this pre-game, but the Sage-Hens defense is #1 in all of SCIAC, and so they're a formidable option against this Panthers defense here on third down.
And here's a snap, shotgun snap, underway. Pacheco getting a little bit of pressure right there. Reception made by number 27, or excuse me, by Andrew Latu. That was number 28, Andrew Latu with the reception right there. And it will wind up in a Panthers fourth down. And here comes the special teams unit for the Panthers.
Bit of a frustrating first few drives here from the Panthers. We see, just as marketed, it looks like just as the first game a few weeks ago, it's a defensive scuttle fest with the Panthers struggling to even get first downs. Of course, the only first down through the first 2 drives was that intermediate pass to Cade Zimmerman here as punting teams on the field.
Punt is underway. Big punt right there, and it appears that Pomona-Pitzer will wave for a fair catch. And now here comes the Pomona-Pitzer offense entering the team, but it appears that there was a flag on the play. Let's see what that penalty was.
It looks like the kicker, the punter there, Carson Nichols, was banged up on that play. And it is curious to see if that has anything to do with roughing the punter. And that is going to give the Panthers a first down. A very, very lucky turn of events for these Panthers who are trying to get back on the field.
Very lucky turn of events indeed, Richie. For a moment right there, it looked like the second offensive drive of this Panther squad had ended up in yet another disappointment. But as we just saw right there, a key penalty happened in football that even a lot of NFL teams seem to struggle with a lot these days, and it's that roughing the kicker penalty right there that not only gives the team punting the ball a huge first down, but also a big yardage gain, and ultimately now Chapman on Pomona-Pitzer's 40-yard line, and Chapman has another fresh set of downs to make this a successful drive. Here's the snap, hands it, fake off to Andrew Latu. Pacheco scans right, makes a reception to Cade Zimmerman, but the ball gets knocked right out. And it appears that it was recovered by Pomona-Pitzer, but the refs are saying that it was an incomplete pass, and that's a big sigh of relief for the Chapman Panthers, and that will end up in a Panthers second down.
Absolutely, and so, as we can see there, refs signal for a dropped pass rather than the completion and the fumble. Again, Cade Zimmerman already with his second drop of the night. That was an absolute dot thrown there by the stud QB, Tyler Pacheco, and that's a bit of a demoralizing moment there. But the Panthers have to keep going. An empty set here, no running backs in the backfield, saying we are going to throw this ball. And we'll see what they got for us here on second down.
And here's the play about to go on. Shotgun snap to Pacheco. Pacheco scans right, makes another reception to Cade Zimmerman. He jukes him out. He finds a little bit of a gap, and he gets tackled right short of a Panthers first down, and it will wind up in a Panthers third down and about 4 to 3 yards right there for this Panthers.
That's the thing with Cade Zimmerman, Rob. He may be 6'3", almost 200 pounds, but he's shifty. You know, he's not just a one-trick pony. He's not the throw it up and get it deep guy. He can do everything that any other wide receiver can do on this football field and in the SCIAC conference here. With third down, you have to think that they're looking toward that number 2 receiver, Cade Zimmerman.
And now here's the play about to go underway. Zimmerman with the shotgun snap, rushing the ball. Here he goes, finds a gap, but he gets denied right there, and that's going to wind up in a Panthers fourth down. For a moment right there, it looked like Pacheco had found a lane, an open lane that he's notoriously famous for, and was unfortunately for this Chapman squad denied right there.
Well, it looks like Coach Shine is going to keep all of his offensive personnel on the field as they're going to go for it. A smart move here early, and Coach Shine is telling you after this replay here, we can see he's a little bit short, but Tyler Pacheco is used to getting banged up here on fourth down. We're going to see what the Panthers have for us.
Here's Pacheco now, hands it off over to Andrew Latu. And it appears that the Panthers will get denied their fourth down conversion. And now the Chapman defense will re-enter the field, and the Pomona-Pitzer offense will get another offensive drive opportunity to make the first score.
And if you're Coach Shine, you gotta pull your guys aside and say, hey, we are a vastly superior team in terms of personnel. We have what it takes to win this game. However, early on, through 3 drives with the help, nothing going here as we see Andrew Latu try to hit a hole, but it looks like the center, Luke Jones, was a left guard. Gavin Scott didn't hit their holes exactly as intended. So Latu is short of a first down, and already Panthers have been struggling offensively.
Struggling indeed, and now here's the Pomona-Pitzer snap. Moonshot, and an interception right there by Chapman. That was number 44 from the Chapman side, Joey Bustos, getting a big pick right there. And talk about a huge change of events right there, Richie. That was a fresh set of downs for this Panther squad, and now they get yet another opportunity to drive this ball.
An absolutely huge play by that Panthers defensive line. I wouldn't be surprised if that was Tate Zimmerman off the edge, hitting the ball right out of the hands there of Nick Kim. We see a replay here. I'm not sure who that was. It might have been Tate, I'm not exactly sure, but an absolutely stellar defensive play there by Joey Bustos and the Panthers defensive line on that stop. That's something that the Panthers desperately needed after a very slow start on offense.
This game, Richie, has certainly had a big change of events going back and forth between these two squads, but now here's the shotgun snap. Pacheco fakes it off, looking for an avenue. He jukes out one of the defenders of this Pomona-Pitzer squad, and he makes a gain of about 2 to 3 yards, and that will wind up in a Panthers second down.
A little bit of elusiveness there, looking like Action Jackson on the play. Runs into his own guy, Zach Miller, as he desperately tries to hit the block, but misses it. And Rob, early on, Chapman's doing a little bit of everything. They're rolling out their star QB, Pacheco, to the right a lot of play action, a lot of shotgun formation, and we're gonna see if they continue that trend here on second down.
It appears that the Chapman Panthers will look to their head coach to see what play they're going to do right now on this next drive. Pomona-Pitzer's defense getting ready for anything right now. Snap about to go underway. Snap is underway. Hands it off over to Fisher-Huss. Finds an open lane. He's breaking through, and he gets a big Chapman Panthers first down.
Absolutely huge run there from the star running back, Fisher-Huss, as he is taken down there by Kalani Pickett. Fun fact, Kalani Pickett actually, according to the opponent's play-by-play, also is getting snaps at receiver time to time, and as we see the replay there, Fisher-Huss takes a big hit from Pickett, but has to feel good about that big run on second down.
That was a big run right there, Richie, no doubt about it. And now here's another play. Fisher-Huss again getting another chance to run the football, and it ends up in a Chapman Panthers second down. I mean, if you're Fisher Huss right now, Richie, you got to be feeling really good after that last big play right there.
You got to be feeling good, of course. That's probably Chapman's first or second biggest play of the game, of course, tied up with that Cade Zimmerman catch from earlier in the first quarter. But Rob, the Chapman offense is rolling right now, already 10 minutes off the game clock. You want to think that they're perhaps trying to keep this run game going. It's 27's in motion.
Yes, Richie, and here's the snap, goes underway. Pacheco looking left a little bit. Finds the hands of Brendan Manzano, and it winds up in another Chapman Panthers first down. The Panthers now in the Sage Hens red zone and in a position to get a score off of this drive.
You saw a tough catch there from Brendan Manzano, just his 12th catch on the year. One of the things that has been discussed a lot is the Panthers have struggled outside of Cade Zimmerman to get production from their receivers, and so a great play over the middle there by Brendan Manzano.
And now Panthers in the red zone. Can they get a touchdown? Fisher Huss carrying the ball gets stopped for a gain of about 2 to 3 yards, and now will wind up in a Panthers second down.
I like what the Panthers are doing right now, Rob, mixing it up. One run play here, one pass play with the other, keeping the Sage Hens on their toes. They haven't been known to be a passing-heavy offense thus far outside of Cade Zimmerman, so it's definitely good to change up the game plan so that this dominant Sage Hens defense is always on their toes and surprised at what may happen next.
Indeed, and now snap about to go underway. A little bit of a motion right there from the Chapman offense. Pacheco hands it off to Fisher Huss yet again. Fisher Huss does make a little bit of a gain right there, a little bit of a smooth spin move, and he ends up just short of the Sage Hens end zone. That was a carry of about 3 to 4 yards right there by Fisher Huss. Chapman inching ever closer to getting that first touchdown and that first score in this matchup between Chapman and Pomona-Pitzer.
Absolutely, Rob, and here we go. A little bit of a personnel change as Jackson Muzzy is taken out in favor of Eugene Miata, going here with trips left on the field. Just one receiver there out to the right. That's Cash Henjum, who had a few catches, 3 catches to be exact, last week, as we see a receiver in motion going right.
And here we are, snap underway. Can Pacheco get a score on this drive? He's looking, he finds an avenue, he runs the football, and he gets a Chapman touchdown! Tyler Pacheco putting in the first points of the game.
And there we go, Tyler Pacheco using his legs like he does best, though it appears that there is a penalty in the backfield, and you have to think that it's gonna be holding on the Panthers. And it is holding on the senior, the 3-year starter out of Newport Beach, the beast, 6'1", 265, Gavin Scott. I've spoken with Gavin a few times, I've ran into him. Great guy, great disciplined guy, but on that play, unfortunately, there's gonna be a holding call, and it's gonna send the Panthers back. A bit of a demoralizing hit on the Panthers' home team crowd.
Demoralizing, Richie, and now Chapman with 3rd down on the line. Can they still get another touchdown? Let's find out. Pacheco's looking right, decides to rush the football again. He's still looking, still scanning, and he passes in for a Chapman touchdown. And it appears that it is complete.
And there we have it, a Panthers touchdown, a much needed boost for this home crowd after a bit of a struggle to start off the quarter. This has been quite the game to watch, folks. We've seen a turnover already, we've seen penalties, we've seen hard hits, we've seen physical football that is equivalent to the likes of what we used to see back in the day. But here we go as the Panthers come on to the field for a nice extra point attempt. But let me tell you, folks, it is a great time to be a Panthers fan. 5-2, 5-0 in SCIAC, and the Panthers are going to start off the scoring here with a great dot from the star, Pacheco.
What a play right there, Richie. And now the Chapman Panthers will get an extra point attempt by Carson Nichols. Oh, and it ends up in a conversion, and it ends up in an incompletion. Big 2-point conversion attempt right there by the Panthers. And it appears that Chapman will walk away from this offensive drive with a 6-point gain.
And if you're the Panthers, that's a bit confusing as to why you would want to make that play. If I'm Coach Shine, I'm saying I want to go up 7. I want to score 7 just in case, you know, the Sage Hens, they score 7. No point in calling that so early, especially with such a strong Sage Hens defense there. A bit of a head scratcher, at least to me, Rob.
Couldn't agree more with you, Richie. If I were the head coach of the Panthers, I would have gone for that extra point, but again, maybe there's some factors at play that we aren't super knowledgeable about here in the commentating booth going on the field, and now it appears that the Sage Hens are now under pressure to take a response and get a point or two here up on the board.
Well, we know that Carson Nichols missed a few important kicks last week, and so it maybe has something to do with that, but either way, for this Panthers home crowd, a touchdown on their 3rd drive, or excuse me, I believe that was their 4th drive with that penalty.
And now here's the Sage Hens special teams, or excuse me, return team coming on. Little bit of a gain right there. He keeps running and he gets tackled just north of the 35-yard line. The Sage Hens made a big gain right there on that kick return, and it puts the Sage Hens offense in a strong spot to start their offensive drive.
He was taken down right there by Thomas DiVittorio, the 5'10 senior who's getting his final special team reps, was honored earlier with that very, very touching senior ceremony. And here come the Sage Hens hoping to match what the Panthers had just done on that opening drive. Here is Nick Kim and the Sage Hens offense.
Nick Kim about to get the snap underway. Sage Hens offense looking for revenge on this drive to get a touchdown and hopefully an extra point. Here's the handoff. Has it over to the Sage Hens running back, and it winds up just short of a Sage Hens first down, and that will end up in a 2nd down for the Sage Hens team.
A rare run play there for the Sage Hens, who do not like to run it a lot. That was Jack Susank on the carry, and if you're the Sage Hens, although you do love to pass the ball, you have to look at how poorly that Chapman run defense played last week and say, hey, we're licking our chops here. We want to try to go at the ground and see what we can do. But a lot of passing earlier, but a successful gain there on first down from Susank.
And here's the Sage Hens offense getting ready to get another drive going. Nick Kim at the helm of this Sage Hens offense drops the snap, and it appears that there will be a little bit of a scuffle for the ball. Did Chapman recover the football? Doesn't appear that they did.
And this is absolutely sloppy for Joey Yellen, of course. I'm not sure if we mentioned this earlier, but the Sage Hens traditional center Grayson Shin is on IR, and Lewis Lapson, number 70, is going to be making the start today.
That's going to wind up in a loss of about 6 yards for this Sage Hens offense. That was not quarterback Nick Kim at the helm, but rather quarterback Luke Levitt entering the game for the Sage Hens. He will get another opportunity. Here's a 3rd down. Levitt looking left, passes it over, but it ends up in an incomplete pass. Big break right there for the Panthers defense. Sage Hens will wind up in a 4th down, and now the Sage Hens special teams will be re-entering the game to punt the ball away.
And just an absolutely demoralizing drop there from the junior out of Washington, D.C., Jack Sabota, who's been relatively reliable for the Sage Hens this season, putting up 304 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 34 receptions. So we're going to see here what the punting team has for us.
For a moment right there, Richie, if you saw that replay, it looked like Sabata had control of it, and it appears that Chapman will wait for a fair catch. That was from the Panthers' Eugene Mayati, the return specialist again. And now Chapman getting another chance to get a successful drive going. So far, Richie, as we've been seeing throughout this game, it's been a lot of back and forth. We're about 47 seconds left of this first quarter, and we haven't been seeing a ton of action from either side, except for that one exception of the Chapman touchdown earlier.
I mean, I think I'm gonna have to beg to differ. I think we've seen quite a lot of action. I mean, we've seen turnovers, we've seen some hard hits, some fumbles, and not the most scoring in the world, but we've seen a lot of change of possessions. Whenever that's happening, you have to keep your eyes glued on your television.
And here's the fake off. Pacheco getting a little bit of a gain right there. Gets a gain of about 5 yards on that play, and that will wind up in a Panthers 2nd down. You know, Richie, I actually do like the correction you made right there. You're right. There has been a lot of action, but I guess what I was trying to say, Richie, was that you're right. There hasn't been necessarily a lot of scoring from either side going into the start of this game. Of course, that might change now as Chapman was able to make something out of that last offensive drive, as we saw a few minutes ago before that Sage Hens punt. And now, Pacheco looking right. Flag on the play already. And a big reception right there by one of the receivers of the Chapman side. But there was a flag on the play right there. Cash Henjum was the wide receiver that made that pass.
It looks like they're going to get the defense for being offsides there. And Cash Henjum, as you mentioned, had a few big catches last week. He was a Utah walk-on, fun fact, and he actually missed all of last season with an injury. And so it's good to see him getting back on the field. And Panthers there, they had a free play, and good for them, as that appears to be the end of the first quarter. Lots of action there, little scoring, but a touchdown. Of course, that was the touchdown pass from the star Tyler Pacheco.
And now Chapman going into the first quarter, up by 6 points. Can they make this next drive successful? Still, as you mentioned, Richie, a lot of action on the field, a lot of back and forth. It was a little bit surprising to see that Sage Hens defense fall for that offsides. A little bit of a hard count being used by the Chapman offense that was able to get that slip up from the Sage Hens
Absolutely. I mean, if you're the Sage Hens, you got to be a little bit frustrated about how the game has gone so far. However, a fresh set of downs for the Chapman Panthers here coming up after a pretty strong showing first quarter. And Rob, I just want to pick your brain for a second. If you're Coach Shine, what are you telling your team right now?
If I'm telling Coach Shine, you know, let go of, as he's been saying constantly throughout the season, whenever there's a disappointment, let go of those difficult plays, those aspects of the game that were unsuccessful, that were frustrating, that got in the heads of the players, and just continue playing good football, moving on from those difficult plays. And I think Chapman is doing a little bit of that, as we see both of these teams kind of starting out a little bit cold in terms of being able to put the nail in the coffin when it comes to scoring. And so if I'm Coach Shine, I think that's what I'm telling my team, to continue with that same mentality that they've had through these last 5 consecutive wins, which is get out of your head and be mentally present. And now here's Pacheco, shotgun snap. Looks left, finds Cade Zimmerman. Zimmerman gets a little bit of a yardage gain right there, but it will wind up in a Chapman Panthers second down.
Absolutely, and Cade Zimmerman has been absolutely active all game long. Of course, has a few drops, but also has a few receptions, and I wouldn't doubt, Rob, if he had a few more receptions here on this drive. Is one of the things I mentioned earlier, is Chapman has seemingly refused, or at least struggled to use all of the other wide receivers, whether that be Miata, Mendez, Castro, Pucci, but we're going to see what they have going for us continually on this drive.
Snap underway. Pacheco hands it off over to Andrew Latu, or excuse me, not Latu. So that was a fake off right there to Latu, and Pacheco does get a big Chapman Panthers first down.
And that was just an absolutely huge truck from the man, the myth, the legend, Tyler Pacheco there, the quarterback one. Again, former wide receiver turned quarterback, turned wide receiver back to quarterback, as we see the replay there. He runs it up the gun, out, and he absolutely lays the boomstick on safety Andy Butler on that play, and that got the home crowd absolutely going on that.
Big play right there by Tyler Pacheco. He's showing us a little bit of what he can do when he's in the zone, but here's another play. Hands it off to Fisher Huss. Huss does find a lane, and he winds up in what appears to be another Chapman Panthers first down. Big carry right there by Fisher Huss. Again, Chapman showing what they can do when they run the football. They find their lanes, they find their gaps, and they ultimately get those first downs that they need.
And those two runs back-to-back have this place rejuvenated. The stadium isn't necessarily packed, but among the people that are here, you can just feel the energy here in Ernie Chapman Stadium.
And now Pacheco fakes it off to Huss. Pacheco running the football himself, gets tackled for a yardage gain of about maybe 3 yards on that play.
I like the mentality. If you're Coach Shine, those past 2 runs were absolutely electric, and this Sage Hens run defense, usually one that has been pretty solid, and up until this point in the game has been solid, but this past drive has struggled a lot. You're going to want to go at their throats, but as the Panthers get closer to that 5-yard line, you're going to have to think to pass here, where they have Cade Zimmerman out in the slot, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're going back to him on this one, Rob.
Zimmerman getting ready for another play. Hands it off to Fisher Huss, but Huss unfortunately wasn't able to find an open avenue to get through the Sage Hens defense, and it will wind up in a Panthers second down.
And we've seen early on in this game, the middle O-line has struggled a bit. Of course, that being Gavin Scott, Luke Jones, and Teddy Bettner. Traditionally, when these runs have gone well, they've run it off of their tackles, especially to the left, of course, off of the dominant Lane 40, the second-team All-SCIAC. In his first year as a starter, he took over for the former first-teamer Donovan Porter, who's a legend here at Chapman University. And a little bit of discussion of what's going on, signaling to the sidelines, as this is a pretty big 3rd down and 8 here for these Panthers.
Pretty big 3rd down right here. Can Chapman deliver and get a couple points on the board? Let's see, Pacheco scanning left, aims for Cade Zimmerman, but the ball is incomplete, and that will wind up in a 4th down. Let's see if the Chapman Panthers will bring up the special teams, Carson Nichols, to kick a field goal, or if they'll go for it on 4th down.
They're bringing out these special teams, Rob, and I like the call there for the Panthers. You have your best receiver in the entirety of the conference, the former New Mexico player. As we see a replay on this play, Tyler Pacheco looks left. He's getting absolutely stunned there by Kalani Pickett, of course, their star cornerback, who also time to time takes snaps at receiver, but they're going to bring on number 37, Carson Nichols, here for the try.
Carson Nichols, the kicker. It appears that the kick is good for the 3-point field goal for the Panthers, and now Chapman will lead 9-0 against Pomona.
A very dominant showing so far for this home crowd. And Rob, as we see, if you are the Sage Hens, something's gotta mix. We've seen some sloppy plays, some sloppy snaps, drop passes, a lot of miscommunication on behalf of the Sage Hens, a crucial penalty that gave the Panthers an extra set of downs. And so for the Sage Hens, you gotta collect yourselves, you gotta relax. You got to realize that it's still early in this game. It's only 9-0, and you cannot let the Panthers gain any more momentum, especially for this home crowd.
If you are the Sage Hens defense, though, you do got to give it to them that they have been giving a lot more difficulty to this Chapman Panthers offense early on. Typically, what we have seen throughout the season, Richie, is the Panthers offense really dominating in first quarter showdowns between other teams and really racking up more than just 9 points, but many touchdowns and other high-scoring games.
Absolutely, Rob. Absolutely. And Sage Hen's going to look to turn things around after a tough showing. And here is the kick from Nichols.
Kickoff by Nichols. Here's the return specialist from the Pomona-Pitzer side, running the football, and it gets denied right there, just short of the 25-yard line. That was return specialist Mitch Brogan Daly, excuse me, with the successful return right there, and it will give the Sage Hens a fresh set of downs.
And here we can see they've been alternating quarterbacks thus far this game. They started off with the 3rd stringer, Nick Kim, who's been making spot starts, and then they went to Luke Leavitt, and it appears they're going back there to Nick Kim, number 12, here as they're looking to switch things up and make something happen in a 9-0 hole.
And now, snap about to go underway. Pomona-Pitzer's offense on the field now. Snap is underway. Nick Kim scanning the field, his O-line giving him some protection, and the ball will end up incomplete, and it appears that there was a flag on the play.
Thrown there deep from the field judge, appears to signal that there has been a holding penalty on the Panthers, and that's exactly what it's going to be. So it's going to send the Sage Hens a bit down the field. If you're the Sage Hens, you got to take what you can get, because on that play, all the receivers were absolutely locked up.
They were indeed locked up, Richie, and that's a big break if you're the Sage Hens offense. As you said, Richie, anything you can get is a theme that we're starting to see a little bit throughout this night. A good way to move the chains. And now a fresh set of downs. Sage Hens just south of the 50-yard line, Can they get another first down? Let's find out. Snap is underway. This time Luke Levitt on the field. He's rushing the football. He finds an open avenue. And that will wind up in another Sage Hens first down. Big carry right there by Luke Levitt, showing a little bit of what he can do on rushing the football, which if you're this Pomona-Pitzer team, you're a little bit out of the ordinary because they tend to pass the football a lot, and that was a big rushing gain right there.
Taken down there by Jacob Gowdy, the safety, former first-team All-SCIAC selection here.
Luke Levitt finding his receiver, and that will wind up in another Sage Hens first down. That was to Brennan Dragomer, the reliable running back of his Pomona-Pitzer's offensive team.
Absolutely, Andrew Buck there on the tackle. If you are the Sage Hens, you're going to start having to rely on some of these swing passes, this intermediate stuff, because the Panthers have a great secondary, of course, led there by Jacob Gowdy and Devin Cobb.
And another reception right there. This time Luke Levitt over to Jackson Irons, one of the other wide receivers on this Sage Hens offense. Luke Levitt showing a little bit of what the Sage Hens offense can do once they get their passing game into gear and the receivers are in the positions that they need to be. Another snap underway. This time Nick Kim back on the field. Little bit of a pass here back and forth, and it winds up in a Sage Hens third down, it appears.
Some trickery there on that play. Call it the Sage Hen special instead of the Philly special. They had an option there set up for a deep pass downfield. As we can see the replay here on this very confusing play. That's going to be number 14 on the play there. Passes it. It's number 81, Jackson Irons, but not much going there. But we're going to see here on 2nd and 6 what the Sage Hens have.
Nick Kim with the ball again. And that will end up in an incomplete pass. Big break for the Chapman defense as so far. Oh, but it appears that there was a flag on the play.
Nearly intercepted there over the middle of those Chapman linebackers, but might have been some contact there before any sort of interception attempt was made. But we'll have to hear from the field judges and what they have to say. Appears that there's actually a penalty on the Sage Hens, an illegal shift from one of the tight ends there. It's going to send them back 2nd and 11. And here, Rob, if you're the Panthers, you're doing a good job, but on this drive, you're getting gashed up a little bit. You're going to have to start locking down these short intermediate passes because that's what's been killing you on this drive.
Yes, Richie, if you are the Panthers defense, you are taking anything you can get right now. So far, the Sage Hens offensive drive has been very lethal in terms of getting those first downs, and now here's the snap underway. Nick Kim with the ball. Big attempt right there, and it winds up in a Sage Hens touchdown. Jackson Walker, the wide receiver, showing what he can do for the Sage Hens offense on the passing game. Big touchdown for the Sage Hens, and we are back in a competitive matchup, Richie.
And that's exactly what the Sage Hens needed on that drive. After a few demoralizing drives in that first quarter where you were outscored 9-0, it is the interim quarterback there, Nick Kim, with the shot there deep, slinging the pill out to number 83. And that is Jackson Walker, the sophomore out of San Francisco, a town that I hold very near and dear to my heart as I am from San Jose, the Bay Area. A very solid season from him. And that's going to keep going here with a touchdown as the extra point try appears to be good.
The extra point try went away with flying colors, and now this Sage Hens offense has put up its first few points of the game. Chapman now only holds a narrow lead above the Sage Hens, 9-7, 2-point differential right there. And Richie, if I'm the Chapman offense, I'm a little bit more on the alarms. I want to get a couple points to respond to that last drive that we saw right there from the Pomona-Pitzer Sage Hens.
Absolutely, Rob. And those offensive players have had some time to talk to Coach Shine because that was a very long drive from the Sage Hens. And if you are Coach Shine, I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep sticking with my guns. I love this balanced passing, rushing attack. They're passing more than usual in this one so far. A couple big runs from the quarterback and, of course, from Fisher Huss on that last drive. And honestly, Rob, there's not a lot of pressure here on this offense. Just keep things going the way that they've been going. Keep it smooth, keep it fresh, and keep it going.
And here's Gage Eastlack with the kickoff for the Sage Hens. Kicks it far back. Here's a return by Archie Jean. still standing, gets tackled by number 2, Trevor Carson from the Pomona-Pitzer side.
So Archie John with a solid bounce off return there, though he's still under the 25-yard line, and Panthers offense is not on the field as we see an injury, another injury again. Hopefully it's just a cramp or something of that sort, as a few members of the Pomona staff are out there to tend to his injury, and the Panthers are huddling up, discussing their upcoming drive, as they're probably having the same conversations that we are. I mean, they've had so much success on the ground, at least on that last drive, and of course with that passing attack to the beast, the senior Cade Zimmerman there out of Irvine. And you'll have to think that they'll continue to do the same as players start taking knees for their teammate.
Indeed, Richie. There's still a lot of conversations going on between both teams right now. A little bit of uncertainty on the stands as we're seeing right now. And if you're this Chapman offense, you're still looking, the pressure is still on right now to keep pushing forward and get a score down in the second quarter. Of course, 9 minutes left on the clock. There's still a lot of football to be played, Richie. I want to take a moment, though, to kind of highlight what we saw from that last drive right there from the Pomona-Pitzer offense. For a moment, Richie, this team was not cold. They were not necessarily finishing on their offensive drives. But what we saw from that last drive by that big catch right there by Jackson Walker was this team, the Sage Hens team, getting all these constant first downs, first down after first down, a little bit of a breakdown of the defense from the Chapman side. What do you think, Richie, has been an element of that success?
Like all things in life, Rob, it's balance. Balance, 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 balance. This Sage Hens team has been so reliant on the pass this entire season. It's good to see them running the ball a little bit. It's good to see them switching in and out their 2 quarterbacks. That's a very uncanny and unusual thing to do at this level, but it's been working, at least so far on that last drive, as we see Pacheco here.
Here's Pacheco now, passes over to Brendan Manzano. Makes a yardage gain of about 5, and it will wind up in a Chapman Panthers second down. Brendan Manzano, again, being a very key player when it comes to those short receptions for this Chapman Panthers offense.
Absolutely, Rob. A solid first down play, short pass to Manzano from Pacheco. What I'd like to see, Rob, is I'd like to see some more deep shots. I mean, you saw it there on the last play from the Sage Hens, and love to see it. I would love to see Pacheco show off the arm strength here.
And here's a handoff over to Andrew Latu. Andrew Latu finding space. He keeps going, and he gets a big Chapman Panthers first down.
Taken down there by the cornerback, Trevor Carson. And again, that balance attack just keeps on going. Now, Chapman has 2 elite running backs. Of course, Fisher Huss being the first, and what we just saw there, Andrew Latu, as I mentioned earlier, the Offensive Player of the Week, SCIAC, 3 touchdowns against Claremont last week, and he's gotten going early. Not a lot of huge chunk runs outside of that play, but it's important for Coach Shine in this offense to keep utilizing him and featuring him in this offense.
And now Pacheco with a fresh set of downs. Can he continue this drive forward? Here's the play now. He's still moving with the football. He's looking for his players, and he's rushing the football. He's moving it down the field. And he winds up just short of a first down for the Panthers, but he still gets a big gain right there. Chapman is now short by about 2 to 3 yards of a first down.
I've been watching football for a long time, Rob, and you know who that reminds me of? That reminds me, let me throw way back 10, 12 years ago, Colin Kaepernick, San Francisco 49ers, the way that he uses his legs to extend the play. And as you can see on this replay, absolutely lays the boomstick there on number 2, Trevor Carson, who made the previous tackle, as well as on the DB, number 34, as well.
Snap underway yet again. Running game. Latu with the ball. Was it just enough to get a Panthers first down? And it indeed does end up in a Panthers first down. And that will move the chains, Richie. As you've said, they laid the boomstick on this Sage Hens defense, and that will move the chains.
It's going to move the chains, Rob. Just under 7 minutes here to go in the second quarter. Seen some very solid offensive plays from the Panthers on this drive as Pacheco looks to the sideline to get a confirmation about what they're going to be doing. Fresh set of downs. Wouldn't be surprised here if we went with another run play, though it appears that the Panthers are going to go ahead and call a timeout. And one of the things, Rob, as is all things in life, strategy.
Timeout. Chapman, they're
as
first.
we undertake this timeout, based off of what we've seen so far, what do you think that this Panthers offense is going to discuss in this timeout?
Well, I think, Richie, as you've mentioned before, Pacheco has done an excellent job of running the football when it comes to these clutch drives on offense. I like the story that you told of from the NFL, the parallels that it has to this team. The numbers just don't lie, Richie. This Chapman offense, they can really run the football. And right now, if they're able to exploit that and really capitalize on that, I think that they could continue moving the ball forward down the field. Though, when it comes to this timeout right here, I think they're looking to maybe straighten out a few things. Maybe when it comes to the offensive linemen, Richie, we haven't been seeing a ton of pocket protection from them. Oftentimes, you've seen Pacheco and some of the other running backs kind of struggling to find their open lanes.
Absolutely, Rob. I will say, though the protection has struggled, some of that is by design. Some of that is to trap linebackers who are blitzing and D linemen up the middle so that Pacheco can roll out to his strong side left, because that's what he loves to do most. And we'll see if we get a little bit more of that on this play here. Sends Zimmerman in motion.
Indeed, Richie. Here's Pacheco. He looks left, finds Cade Zimmerman. Zimmerman trying to run it out, but he gets pushed right out of the sideline, and that will wind up in a Panthers second down.
Gets pushed out there, but it appears Kalani Pickett and Jonathan Curry there on that play. And not much going, not much that Zimmerman could do there, but I do like using your star receiver as much as possible, especially on those short passes. Let him do his work and let him make something happen.
Let him make something happen, Richie. That's a theme that we've been seeing a lot tonight. We will get a replay on this shortly. And it appears that we already have a flag on the play.
Bit of a flag there. We're going to go ahead and see exactly what's
Offside,
going on.
defense, number 99 with contact.
It's
5-yard penalty.
Penalty with contact
Second down.
there. As this game keeps going in the direction of Chapman's way. And a little bit of a boost there for the Panthers. Now that brings it up to a second down where we have two receivers out right, one out left. You think they're going to pass here?
Indeed, Richie. Here's the snap about to go underway. Panthers looking to their sidelines to see what plays they need to do. Pacheco communicating with his team, getting ready for the snap. Defense. Handoff over to Andrew Latu. Finds the open gap and gets a yardage gain of about 6 yards that winds up in a Panthers first down, and that will move the chains.
And that was just a patient run there from their star running back, Andrew Latu. You know, the way he runs reminds me of prime Le'Veon Bell. Patient, poised, follows his blockers, as we see here on a replay. Takes his time, hits the blocks, and absolutely gets that first down for the Panthers.
And now Pacheco and the Chapman offense looking again to the sidelines. What can they do to rearrange their formation to get another successful fresh set of downs? Pacheco, little bit of an overtoss right there, kind of throws it away with the intended receiver being Andrew Latu, but it winds up in an incompletion, and that will bring up a Panthers second down.
You know what I call that, Rob? I call that a blessing in disguise. Let me tell you something. If Andrew Latu had caught that ball, you know who was coming in? Number 31 right there would have absolutely blown up the play, Colin Miller. And so it might have actually been a good thing that Latu had dropped that ball. Otherwise, might have been a hospital ball there, Rob.
Hospital balls are something that is a big problem in football for these coaches. They don't want that to happen to their key players, especially a key player like Andrew Latu. But here's the snap underway. Pacheco rushing the football, runs left, doesn't get tackled, and he gets another Chapman Panthers first down. Big carry right there by Pacheco. Is there anything that he can't do when it comes to this rushing game?
Absolutely nothing. He can do everything, as I've said, whether it be looking like Indiana Jones or Action Jackson out of Baltimore, Maryland. The guy can do everything. His strength and contact balance is unlike any other player in SCIAC. Absolutely hits the deck there on Cole Miller in that replay. As we see again, more communication with the sidelines for Pacheco. Have to think that they're going to stick with the run on this drive, as it has worked very well, particularly when they run off of their left tackle, lane 40, as well as their guard, the veteran Gavin Scott, number 75.
And now here's Pacheco with a fresh set of downs, hands it off, or fakes hands it off. He continues to rush the football. And that would be end up in a yardage gain in about 4 yards right there for this Panthers squad. Second down Panthers, but if you're the Chapman Panthers offense, you got to be feeling good, but it appears that Pacheco is dealing with a little bit of an injury.
Officials timeout for injury.
And you hear on the field, Pacheco writhing in agony there for a moment, and that is not what you want to see if you are any player on the field, but especially for these Panther fans. Tyler Pacheco's journey has been nothing short of remarkable thus far, of course, starting off at quarterback, then going back to play receiver, and then making his way all the way back after the Chapman Panthers needed a quarterback opening. It's a shame to see him go down there. He immediately throws off his helmet. I mean, this guy all season, Rob, has been phenomenal. Before entering today's game, he had 150 attempts for passing with over 1,000 yards and 10 passing touchdowns. But the highlight of his game, of course, is the fact that he can use his leg, of course, using his legs to rush for the most passing yards, or the most rushing yards in all of SCIAC with 521, and looks like he's in pain, Rob.
If you're the Chapman coaching staff, situations like this are your worst nightmare when that starting QB, that spark plug that you see on this offense is down on the field, still in pain and agony. It's not a good thing at all. It appears that Pacheco will need to be limping off of the field. It seems like he will exit for a moment.
And that changes everything, Rob. It looks like, if not for the game, Pacheco's going to be out for a while. We've been calling his name all evening long, but of course, with that injury brings in Brady McAleer, the quarterback too. Hasn't really seen too much action this season. Of course, not as mobile as Pacheco, so the Panthers' game plan is going to have to change a lot here, since he is not capable of using his legs to the degree that Pacheco is, not even close.
And here's Brady McAleer showing what he can do on offense. Already going for the pass right there. Brady McAleer with the intended reception right there by Cash Henjum, receiver that got a few touches earlier tonight, Richie. Richie, I'm curious to see what Brady McAleer will do on this second quarter. There's only 3 minutes left until halftime. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
We'll just have to see, Rob. We'll just have to see. As I mentioned, the game plan is going to have to alter dramatically to fit the play style differences between Pacheco and McAleer, but a huge third down here with momentum on the Sage-Hens side. We're going to see what McAleer has for us.
McAleer hands it off over to Andrew Latu, gets a yardage gain of about 3 yards right there, but it will wind up in a Panthers fourth down. And it appears that the Panthers special teams will be entering the field to get a field goal.
And there it's, even though it is 4th and short, right now the Panthers are feeling, or they ought to be feeling, or have to be feeling a bit demoralized after they lost their star quarterback on what appeared to be a lower leg. I believe he was holding his left leg injury, but on to kick is Carson Nichols.
And Carson Nichols with a big field goal attempt right here. We've seen him be used a lot tonight. Oh, but it's a fake away play right there. That was Eugene Miata trying to run the football out. He's still rushing for it, and it winds up in an incompletion, and there's a flag on the play right there.
And there is a penalty, and that was Eugene Miata on the pass attempt, but there may have been some contact late from Jake Sugawara on that. We're just gonna have to wait and see what the field judge has to say. The right judge there around the 30-yard line.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense,
And just a brutal, brutal penalty. Another drive extending penalty for the Sage Hens. That side of the field was absolutely electric. Players shaking hands and getting hyped, but unfortunately, after a very questionable fake field goal call on 4th down, the Panthers get very lucky there and are going to get a fresh set of downs there on the 9-yard line.
And now Chapman has an opportunity to capitalize on that critical error made right there by the Pomona-Pitzer side. Can they end this drive on a good note with a touchdown? Can Brady McAleer get this drive going that he needs to continue leading this team, as Tyler Pacheco still not guaranteed to re-enter the game? Let's find out.
We'll see, Rob. We'll see what's going here as we see Brendan Manzano out left. Zimmerman in the slot here with I formation, one running back to his right.
Snap underway. McAleer handing it off to Andrew Latu, but he gets stopped right there. Big read by the Sage Hens defensive line, and that will end up in a yardage gain of about 1 to 2 yards.
We're going to go down to the 2-minute warning, but one thing I will say, Rob, is when the defense knows that you don't have the best player in the entire conference with Tyler Pacheco on your team, they know that you're not going to run the ball with your quarterback. Their game plan has to change too. And when you don't have Pacheco, if you're the Panthers, you have to realize our offense just got a lot less dynamic, and the opponent's defense just got a lot more dynamic, in that as much as Brady McAleer can prove himself tonight, Tyler Pacheco, his mobility, proved him to be unlike any other player in the conference.
Indeed, Richie. Tyler Pacheco exiting the game is a big blow to this Chapman squad. He is the leader of this team. He is excellent at running that football and really getting good drives going. But of course, as you mentioned earlier, Richie, there is adversity that comes in the game of football, and the Panthers, if they still want to walk away with a victory tonight, they need to push that to the side and continue pushing forward and delivering on these drives and adding to their lead to secure the victory.
Absolutely, but moving forward, Brady McAleer is the guy coming into this game, and what I would love to see the Panthers do is continue to rely on that run game. We haven't seen a lot of Fisher-Huss in quite a while, and it's a little confusing, as although Latu has been great, of course Fisher-Huss has been the guy for the Panthers, averaging 5.6 yards a rush on the season with 433 rush yards. A big part of why Chapman has been so successful thus far as we come back from the 2-minute warning.
And now Brady McAleer on 2nd down in the Sage Hens red zone with the opportunity to get a good score right here. A little bit of emotion right there from the offense. McAleer handing it off to Latu again, but Latu gets stopped again by the Sage Hens D-line. And that will wind up in yet another Panthers 3rd down.
And I like the call there, continuing to trust Latu, though would love to see a little bit more of Fisher-Huss as we see Cash Henjum entering the game there, switching sides over to the right. Cade Zimmerman on an island there against Kalani Pickett there. And you have to think, if you're the Panthers, there's your one-on-one ball right there with your star receiver out left, although we'll have to see what Coach Shine has cooking up on this important 3rd down play.
And now Brady McAleer looking a little bit deep, gets a big reception right there. That's going to wind up in a Chapman Panthers touchdown to the tight end, Jackson Muzzy.
Absolutely great way to pick up your injured teammate there from Brady McAleer. Scans the field, makes the read right over the middle, pass up the seam beyond the linebacker's reach. Just an absolute dominant play there for McAleer as the Panthers get out right on the correct foot there to end this half with just 1 minute and 10 seconds left. Now, Rob, that was a great play, but let's see if they stick with the traditional one-pointer here as they've pulled off some trickery tonight.
Overall, just an outstanding read right there by McAleer, and of course Jackson Muzzy finding an open avenue to be present for that, and the extra point does wind up good for Chapman. Good kick right there by Nichols. But Richie, I want to go back to that play. That I would say, Richie, was Brady McAleer's best play that we've seen so far from him during this game. That's putting Chapman in a much better, comfortable position going into this halftime. 1 minute and 10 seconds left on the clock. Chapman now up 16 to the Sage Hens, 7 points. Richie, if I'm the Chapman squad, I got to be feeling pretty good about the way things are going into the half. However, as you've mentioned time and time again, Richie, the Panthers cannot let their foot go off of the gas pedal.
Absolutely not. Complacency is the killer of so many successful things. And as you mentioned, Rob, Chapman's got to keep their foot on the gas if they want to win this game, as they do have a tendency in the past to fall off during that third quarter out of the break.
Kickoff underway by the Panthers. And here's the return specialist for the Sage Hens, moving the football down up the field for a big yardage gain, of about 20 yards right there. That was Brendan Dragomer with the return right there. And if I'm the Sage Hens offense, I'm feeling the pressure right now. I'm feeling like this Panthers team is not gonna let anything up. So if I'm Pomona, I'm hungry, ready for a score to be made on this drive.
Absolutely, Rob. With just a minute to go in the first half, Pomona is just going to hope to throw the ball and try to get maybe into field goal range.
And now, a little bit of a block right there, and it becomes a fumble. Incomplete pass right there, excuse me, by the Sage Hens team. Big sigh of relief for the Sage Hens. What could have occurred right there would have been a tragedy for this Sage Hens team. Recovered by the Chapman defense, by number 11 from the Chapman defense. And it winds up in a second down for the Sage Hens. Snap underway, handoff over to the running back, Jack Susank.
Here's the flag there on the play, which is 51 seconds to go in this first opening half, and you have to think that it's going to be another holding penalty, that being against the Pomona-Pitzer Sage Hens. We're going to wait here for the field judge to make a call.
Holding. Offense, number 86. 10-yard penalty. Second down.
As suspected there, it'll be a holding penalty there. Brings it out to 2nd and 20, and now for the Sage Hens, you just got to kill clock to get to the break, to start talking with your team about the adjustments that are necessary to be made in order to complete a 9-point comeback in this second half.
And now here's the Sage Hens team with what appears to be a timeout called by the Chapman side.
Chapman.
Absolutely, timeout there for the Panthers to sort of strategize how they're going to handle the final 51 seconds of this half. There is a scenario in which Chapman does get the ball back with, half a minute left, and with the dominance we see from Cade Zimmerman, you never know where the Panthers can score from on the field, and so the Panthers are trying to set themselves up to get the ball back, still having 2 timeouts left to sort of figure out exactly what they want to do. Excuse me, now just 1 timeout left. But for the Panthers, after a very, very solid first half, we're going to definitely need to see some adjustments going into the break. One of the things that the Panthers have been able to do so well is just dominate that time of possession against the Sage Hens. The Sage Hens have been sort of in and out all game due to penalties and due to miscommunication, and the Panthers have dominated that time of possession thus far, which has allowed them again to hold that lead and also has allowed them to control not only the game clock but the tempo of the game itself. Chapman at home with the feelings and the nostalgia of senior night and having the home crowd with them this evening, have been able to do exactly as their game plan entailed, and that is have a balanced rushing and passing attack thus far.
Indeed, Richie, I couldn't agree more with you. For the longest time that we've seen this first half, Chapman has been dominating when it comes to being able to exploit those penalty mishaps by the Pomona-Pitzer side, and of course, maintaining possession of the ball for longer periods of time to drown out the time on that clock. Good insights right there, Richie. I couldn't agree more with you. But of course, there is still 51 seconds on the clock. Pomona-Pitzer is trying to make something of this last drive. Of course, they're very deep in the back of their side of the field. It's a second down right here. If I'm the Pomona-Pitzer Sage Hens, I'm looking to get at least within field goal range, so maybe we could add 3 points going into the half. And now here's the handoff. Over to the Sage Hens running back. Gets stopped for a yardage gain of about maybe 2 to 3 yards right there. And that will wind up in a Sage Hens third down.
Absolutely, and Coach Shine's going to call another timeout here again with the goal of getting
Chapman.
that ball back.
Their final of the half.
Of course, as you said, Rob, controlling that tempo is the key to this game, or rather one of the keys of the game, if you will. And just with 45 seconds left, we're going to have to see how these Panthers choose to go about this, as there is time to sort of make another effort to score the ball here.
Richie, as I'm sure you've mentioned a lot tonight, you've told these good stories of the game of football, from the NFL, making good connections to your own personal experience, Richie, in Pop Warner. And if there's one thing that's certain about football, Richie, is that it doesn't matter that there's 45 seconds on the clock, there is still a lot of football to be played, and anything can still happen. And so if Chapman wants to walk away from this second half with the score remaining 16-7, the defense needs to continue doing their job and denying these Pomona-Pitzer Sage Hens any life on offense. Here's the handoff. Brandon Dragomir still finding an open lane. He gets tackled just short of a first down. That will end up in a Sage Hens fourth down. Of course, being that there's 34 seconds on the clock, now less than 30 seconds on the clock, if you're the Sage Hens, you're going to try to go for it on this drive.
Absolutely, Rob. It appears, though, that the clock is going to sort of run out here with Nick Kim walking toward the sideline. A little bit of communication going on between Kim and the field judge there. And that is going to go ahead and end this very fun and exhilarating first half, as we see all of the teams heading back and personnel heading into the locker room.
Of course, Richie, and we do want to take a moment right now to toss it down to our sideline reporter, Caroline.
A little bit of a miscommunication there. We're not tossing it down quite yet. Just a little bit of a recap here of the first half. We saw a lot of excitement from all of the plays this game. Of course, a takeaway early from the Panthers defense, going into a very balanced rush pass attack from both teams. Quite honestly, it was good to see, in spite of their losing so far, the Sage Hens run the ball a little bit as well as pass the ball.
Indeed, Richie, as we saw earlier in the game, for a moment we saw a lot of back and forth between both teams. Neither team really being able to get a score or a successful drive going. Of course, the Sage Hens were able to strike first early on with that touchdown, and of course Chapman responding with a field goal and their own respective touchdowns, Richie. Of course, this Chapman defense is being a little bit challenged tonight by this Sage Hens offense. They're showing what they can do when it comes to the passing game. And of course, the Sage Hens defense being one of the best in the league, as you mentioned earlier, Richie, showing what they can really do when it comes to denying any life to a team's offense.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I just want to say hello. This is our first time on camera tonight. My name is Richie Amarias, and I'm doing color commentary. And this is
Robert Ariano. I will be your play-by-play for this evening. We're very happy to have you here tonight, as we are in a very unique situation when it comes to games. This Chapman team is of course already punched their ticket to the SCIAC championship game, and of course we are going to go to the team comparisons shortly, and here we go right now with the comparisons.
And as we can see here, this has been a story of two completely different seasons for both of these squads. Of course, the Pomona-Pitzer Sage Hens here, they're a very dominant defense, but in terms of scoring the ball, they have not had as much success this season here. If we look at the discrepancies, it is quite astonishing that this team played the Panthers as close as they did just a few short weeks ago. At the rushing yard discrepancy is absolutely bizarre, a 4-to-1 ratio there. In terms of the touchdowns, the Chapman Panthers are hosting one of the best offenses in their entire history there, under the leadership of Coach Casey Shine.
Of course, Richie, and there's no surprise right there why we're seeing such a big difference in rushing yards right there. It's no surprise when you have players like Tyler Pacheco, Fisher Huss, Andrew Latu, and all these other key running players on this Chapman team. Of course, Pacheco leading the SCIAC conference in rushing yards, and of course Fisher Huss being third in SCIAC rushing yards. And now we're going to go to our coach comparison. Richie, what do you have for us?
So one thing I will say, Rob, is that what is the most important part about sports? A lot of people say the players. I think it all comes down to coaching. Growing up, I love playing sports, and I will tell you one thing, Rob, it has been quite the journey in sports, but Coach Shine, what a coach he has been for this Panthers offense after starting out very, very rough at an 0-2 start. I mean, he had this team looking like one of the worst teams that Chapman has ever hosted, but he's gotten it together since.
Of course, and we will continue to talk a little bit about Coach Shine, but for now we're going to toss to our quick break. Please stay tuned to CSBN Live. We have more exciting football for you here tonight.
Hey guys, well, we are back. We're here with Grace Luttrell and Nico Schwegler, my analyst here. And guys, what a game. Currently, we stand at Chapman Panthers 16 and the Pomona-Pitzer Sagehens at 7. So, you know, we're here to talk football. We're here to give you guys a couple of highlights from the game. Let's get right into it. We're going to start with Chapman strengths, excuse me. Let's go ahead and roll that clip. We're going to analyze a little bit here. All right, amazing. And I'm just going to leave it open for him here for Nico and Grace to jump right in.
Absolutely. I mean, when you take a look at the strengths of this Chapman team so far, it's been the ability to move the ball forward. There you're seeing the interception. That was massive for switching momentum.
Yeah, and we've been able to see that momentum continue to carry on throughout this game. We've seen that they've been able to throw that ball, get that ball. We saw them score that first touchdown in the first half, which really set the pace and momentum. And it's going to be interesting to see. I know we've had some players down in this first half, but, you know, they've been able to carry. They've been able to find that pocket that they've needed to find to get that ball down to the end zone. And so we've been able to see strong plays like that throughout this game.
Yeah, absolutely. As for Chapman, though, on the other side, it feels like they failed to connect a few different passes that they've had over the course of this game. Obviously, a big injury to Devin Cobb now going forward, as well as the biggest injury of all, Tyler Pacheco, the star quarterback of this team, Angie, going down in that second quarter. It's a massive blow for Chapman coming up forward, especially when you get a game against Laverne. Thankfully for Chapman, they get one more game coming up in the regular season. They need him back in that SCIAC championship, though, going against Redlands or Cal Lutheran. Both those teams won. Still don't know who Chapman will face in that SCIAC championship. They need Tyler Pacheco, though, to carry the load of this offense if they want any chance at going back to where they were in 2023.
Absolutely, Nico. And, you know, Tyler Pacheco was a key player that we were highlighting in today's game. So really, what's going to be the mentality for Chapman now that we know that he's down?
I mean, the biggest thing I have to say right now is the fact that Brady McAleer now has to be the one that steps up, especially also with this run game going forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Apologies, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. However, for the run game going forward, definitely for Chapman, it's about relying on the likes of Fisher Huss as well as Andrew Latu. Brady McAleer does need to step up in this second half. Chapman up only 16-7 going forward. However, for this team going forward, you need someone to be able to step up. This defense has played phenomenally so far, but against CMS last week, they were only up by a few points heading into halftime. CMS smacked them in the mouth. They were all of a sudden up by 1. After the first play of the second half, Chapman cannot afford to get complacent. They got a little bit complacent on that Pomona touchdown. Certainly cost them. That's why it's 16-7 instead of 16-0 at this point.
Absolutely. It definitely costed them, but I want to get into Chapman weaknesses here. We're going to play these clips for you. We have 2 incomplete passes. I want to talk a little bit about that. Why is that so important, Grace? Are they failing to connect here, these passes?
Yeah, you know, especially with Tyler Pacheco out, you know, he sets the tempo, he sets the pace for this team. And so seeing those incomplete passes, it is a little bit of a shaky start for them. You know, we've seen them be a little shaky in these parts before, but we want to continue to see that ball moving forward. We want to see it, you know, moving forward, and especially in the next half, it will be important to see, you know, keeping possession of that ball is important, keeping the possession of the ball at any time, but especially right now, Pomona's defense has been showing a strong first half, so making sure that they have that possession ball will be extremely important.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, just to move things along here, we want to look at the other side, right? We want to go into that the Pomona-Pitzer Sagehens. So let's take a look at a couple of clips here highlighting some of their strengths in the team. We're seeing a couple of kick returns, fair catches, you know, their touchdown, of course. Nico?
Absolutely. I mean, for this Pomona-Pitzer Sagehens defense in particular, they've come to play. Yes, they have given up 16 points. They had a little bit of trouble on offense being able to get the ball forward. However, once you get this team moving forward, all of a sudden, then that's when this offense can start to get moving. We saw a little bit of trick plays. We've also seen a few trick plays from Chapman with some 2-point conversions. Expect to see a few more of those as this game progresses, considering that the Panthers have already clinched SCIAC championship right here at home at Wilson Field. However, when you get this Pomona defense going, all of a sudden that can definitely change the entire tide of this game going forward. As for the offense, though, they need to find a way to get this forward. We saw Grady Russo lined up in pads in the warm-ups. He's not playing tonight. Nick Kim, Luke Levitt have been splitting time under center. Somebody else needs to step up for this Pomona offense if they want any chance to go forward.
Yeah, absolutely, Nico. And again, we want to highlight the Pomona weaknesses, of course. We've got some highlights again for you guys. We've got the famous fumble that happened with number 9 on the Sagehens, and we've got a drop catch here. Grace, what can Pomona focus on in terms of their weaknesses?
Yeah, you know, keeping that ball in possession, they want every point matters at this point for it, and we want to see, you know, them being able to stay strong against Chapman's defense, especially with the next few points mattering. We want to see them, you know, running the ball as much as they can, getting that ball, keeping it in possession, and not, you know, maybe taking the time to make some better plays, making sure you see someone open to catch that ball, and making sure that, you know, maybe not going for the longer yards, maybe just moving it down as fast as they can will be the best play.
Absolutely. And, you know, that being said, we saw many angles to the story, right? We saw the Chapman strengths, the Chapman weaknesses, and the Pomona strengths and the Pomona weaknesses. But now it's time to look at some first half highlights here that we've pulled from the game. Let's go ahead and analyze these, guys.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at this first interception that we have here from Chapman. Definitely was able to stifle some of the momentum that we saw Pomona have early on in that game. And there, Jackson Muzzy. I don't even know how Tyler Pacheco got that pass off. The famous fumble you were talking about earlier, Angie. Luke Levitt certainly needs to be a bit more careful with the ball, the true freshman, being a big part in this game. And there, you see some of the trickery. That was Will Black's only throw of the game. We saw a little bit of that when Pomona took on Chapman last year. And there, just a blown coverage from the Panthers in defense, that being the only touchdown of the game for the Sagehens so far. Definitely need to tighten that up on the defensive side. Andrew Latu running hard. Same thing with Fisher Huss. Those two have had fantastic first halves, and they'll certainly need to step up to the plate with this guy. Potentially out for the game, potentially out for another few games as well. Need this run game to really carry the load. Tyler Pacheco has been a big part of the reason why this team is averaging nearly 200 yards per game on the ground. If they can get something even resembling that type of performance here tonight, all of a sudden Chapman, it feels like they should be 6-0 after tonight against Pomona-Pitzer.
Absolutely. It's a little scary here when we're thinking about what's at stake here for the Chapman Panthers. Again, you know, they're trying to keep that record perfect, that conference record perfect, Nico. And, you know, lastly, I just kind of want to end up, we've seen a couple of highlights for you guys. We've shown a couple of highlights here for you guys, but I want to just kind of end off asking both of you guys, what is the head coaches saying in the locker room right now to both teams? We'll start with you, Grace. What is head coach of Chapman saying to them right now?
Definitely just keeping that momentum up, wanting to focus on getting the rest of this game, really making it a positive game for the seniors too as well. You know, keeping that momentum will be key for this last half.
Absolutely. On the other side for Coach Casey Shine, it's let's go win a ball game. Point blank, Chapman up 16-7. There's nothing much more left to be said, Angie.
All right. Well, that concludes it then. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Game Changer. We will resume with the show or the game. Everybody was not perfect. It is what it is. My hand's fine. Okay, striking lights. Do I strike these chairs or no? Leave them for now.
Good evening and welcome back to CSBN Live. We are continuing with our coverage of an incredible matchup between Chapman University and Pomona-Pitzer in what's turning out to be a very close competition between the Panthers and the Sage Hens, with the score standing right now at Chapman leading 16 to Pomona-Pitzer's 7 points.
Obviously, Rob, we've seen an absolutely thrilling one so far. The score does not reflect it, but there's been a lot of very fun plays thus far, as we already see the teams back on the field here as Carson Nichols kicks it off. A little dud there.
Little dud indeed, and it gets recovered by the Pomona-Pitzer return specialist. And he gets tackled just short of the 25-yard line. That return right there was by Jackson Irons, a very lethal wide receiver on the Sage Hens offense. And now Sage Hens, down by a few points, has a chance to come back this second half and make a big competitive challenge against Chapman this second half.
We're gonna have to see what the Sage Hens have for us now. That tackle was down by the sophomore out of Bellevue, Washington. Kelton Jones was a three-sport athlete in high school, has been a formidable linebacker for the Panthers thus far.
And now here's Pomona-Pitzer getting ready for another drive. Snap underway. Nick Kim, but he gets stopped for a play of no yardage gain, and that will wind up in a Sage Hens second down.
And who else there? Of course, that is Tate Zimmerman, the senior, who is being honored tonight. Also out of Irvine, transferred from the D1 New Mexico. Again, looking like a beast out here at Ernie Chapman Stadium.
Tate Zimmerman is a name we're going to mention a lot more tonight, I'm sure, Richie. But here's the play. Snap underway. Nick Kim looking right. Makes a short completion, but it winds up in no yardage gain, and that will wind up in a Sage Hens third down.
Taken down there by the senior Kyle Sieben. We already have a setup here on third down. These fans are pumped. Of course, there's another game going on right now with the Dodgers playing for the World Series out at Rogers Center, so the crowd is already excited. But here we have, of course, the backup Luke Levitt in place of Nick Kim here taking the snap.
Here's Luke Levitt now, looking a little bit right. He rushes a little bit, finds the hands of his receiver. That was to Jackson Walker, and it winds up in a complete pass for the Sage Hens offense. Big break right there. That's a Pomona-Pitzer first down. Here's a replay of that play. Richie, what do we see right here?
We see here Luke Levitt using his left arm. Of course, he's a lefty. Very rare to see in college. On the sideline there to Walker. Just a great catch and toe drag there for the Sage Hens.
And now here's Luke Levitt again getting a snap. He's starting to run the ball a little bit, and he makes a yardage gain of about maybe 1 yard right there, but that will wind up in a Sage Hens second down. Of course, after that last big first down right there, big reception by Jackson Walker, I'm sure the Sage Hens offense is feeling a little energized.
Definitely a better way to start the second half than the way that they ended the first half for sure, Rob, with two positive plays back to back.
And now here's the Sage Hens again with another attempt. Luke Levitt gets a pick right there. It's a pick. He's going. But it appears that the ref ruled the play incomplete.
Ruling on the field is an interception. First down, Chapman.
Ruling on the field is still an interception for this Chapman team. But for whatever reason, the ref did stop the play right there. Here's a short replay coming up right here. Richie, what did we see on that last play?
I mean, Jacob Gowdy, he's just as good as you get for Division III football. Of course, the 2024 All-SCIAC first team selection, D3 football, all-region third team as well. He does go out of bounds, but reads it just like your favorite novel on that play. On the pass attempt there to Jackson Walker, does step out, but a much-needed injection of energy there for the Panthers.
And now Brady McAleer handing it off to Fisher Huss. He's finding an open lane. He gets a spin move, and he gets a Chapman first down.
And what a turn of events there. Oh my goodness. It appeared as though the Panthers had a little bit of work cut out for them on that opening drive with some plays there from the Sage Hens that inspired promise, but quite the contrary there as the Panthers now get the ball and get a strong run from their star running back, Fisher Huss.
And now here's a Chapman offense looking to the sidelines to see what play they need to do right now to make this drive count. Here's Brady McAleer handing it off to Fisher Huss. Fisher Huss gets denied a little bit right there. Good read by the Sage Hens defense, and that will wind up in a Panthers second down.
Good start to the half for the Panthers here. Coach Shine trying to establish the run early. We still haven't seen, aside from that one touchdown, which was quite a nice read, we haven't seen much from McAleer in the intermediate or long game, which makes you curious to see what we're going to be looking at right now.
And now here's the Panthers again with possession. A little bit of emotion from the offense. McAleer looking right. Aims for the hands of Cash Henjum, and that's a big first down. Cash Henjum showing what he could do on the passing game.
Cash Henjum, pretty much out of nowhere, has come in and been a very integral part of this Panthers offense, which has refused to throw the ball to anyone other than Cade Zimmerman. We're going to see a replay here on this. A nice dot from McAleer there. Does get absolutely blown up right there, but oh my goodness.
And it appears here Chapman will get to drive the ball again. Here's Brady McAleer looking right, throws a little too much juice onto the ball, and it winds up in an incomplete pass for a Panthers second down.
Incomplete pass there. Of course, very safe pass as well out to the corner. But the Panthers going to get more of an opportunity here on the 2nd and 10. McAleer looking to the sideline to see what Shine and his personnel have drawn up for him. Fisher Huss in the backfield. I think they're going to go back to the run here after an unsuccessful pass. We see Coach Shine looking at his playbook with some potential changes.
Here's the Panthers offense in the red zone of the Sage Hens, eager for a touchdown right here. Brady McAleer hands it to Fisher Huss. Fisher Huss gains a couple yards on that drive, but it will still end up in a Panthers third down.
Big third down play here. Will the Panthers capitalize on that turnover and score a touchdown here? You'd have to be happy with 3 as well, considering the fact that the Sage Hens started the half off with the ball. But even still, we'll have to see exactly what the Panthers have drawn up for McAleer here. He's probably going to have to look to pass, and so we'll see what's going here again. McAleer and Huss looking over to the sideline. A crucial play here on third down for these energized Panthers.
And now here's McAleer leading the formation of his offense. Motion, oh, but a missed snap right there. Gets recovered by Brendan Manzano. Oh, but winds up in an incompletion right there. Little bit of a scare right there from the Chapman side. If you're Chapman, you're a little bit relieved that didn't end up in a situation much worse, Richie.
That was a very confusing miscommunication there on behalf of the Panthers, and Manzano tries to throw it, almost throws it right into the hands of the D lineman, and that was almost going the other way. And so for the Panthers, very, very lucky as we see a replay there. Very lucky the Panthers got that back. That would have been very frustrating to go through all of the emotion of getting that turnover at the half. But luckily for them, they'll have a field goal attempt coming underway.
And here's the Chapman special teams taking the safer option and maybe adding 3 extra points on the board to increase the lead. Carson Nichols getting another kick attempt. And it appears that the kick was just a little bit to the right of the goal. And that will be an incomplete missed field goal attempt by Carson Nichols. Not necessarily the best if you're the Chapman side.
And no good there from Nichols. Just a demoralizing miss from the Panthers after that turnover. You'd want to see a little bit more there from your special teams. Of course, Nichols missed some kicks last week. It appears that trend is continuing onto this week against the Sage Hens. And back out is Pomona-Pitzer here to give another try at scoring. And which quarterback? It looks like we're going to see Luke Levitt, the lefty, back out again after a turnover on that last drive.
Indeed, Richie. Now the Sage Hens offense has a big break ahead of them. They were able to stop what could have been a big scoring drive for the Panthers offense. But now here's the snap about to go underway. QB runs the football, finds an avenue through the middle of the lineman and gets just short of a first down. Luke Levitt with the carry right there.
Absolutely, and gets absolutely smoked there on the hit. Luke Levitt's showing it that he can run the ball as well.
Here's Luke Levitt again with his offensive formation. Snap, shotgun snap.
Taken down there up the middle by the sophomore linebacker Kelton Jones. It appeared got to him first, and the prospect of this quarterback being able to use his legs definitely changes things. Of course, Kim not as much of a running quarterback, but Levitt seems to appear more so that. And we're gonna see how this drive continues on here.
Let's see, Richie. Another snap about to go underway, shotgun snap. Here's Levitt with a big pass right there, but the defense was able to get a good read on that and give that coverage that that receiver needed, and that winds up in an incompletion.
That was Jackson Walker on the attempt. The Pomona sideline not too happy about the call there. There appears to have been a little bit of contact there between the DB and Walker, but the judges on the field are keeping the yellow marker in their pockets, and you can still hear the opposing sideline still chirping at the referees, and I think they may have a point there, but still the game has to continue to be played.
Game must go on, Richie, and here we are about to go on with another snap. Second down, Sage Hens. Will they make another pass on this next play? Let's find out. Shotgun snap. Levitt over to one of his running backs right there. That was number 29, Brennan Dragomir, excuse me. Key player on this Sage Hens offense. When he gets the ball, he can be very lethal in getting those yardage gains for his team.
We saw some of Dragomir to open the half, but haven't seen much since. But here we go, big third down. The crowd is into it. The announcer and PAs are into it. And we're gonna see here, I think they're going with Kim here on this play.
Snap underway. Levitt getting a little pressure. Levitt throwing the football away, but he gets stopped, and that will wind up in a Sage Hens fourth down. If you're the Chapman defense, you got to feel good about that last play. That's a big sigh of relief, and now here comes in the special teams, but it appears that we do have an injury on the field right now.
Timeout for injury.
That's Kyle Sieben down on the injury again. Hope he's okay after the trainer comes out and checks on him, but I believe that was Nick Kim there out on that last play. But all credit where credit is due to the Chapman defense. The D-line was absolutely swarming Kim on that play, and all the DBs were locking up the receivers downfield. Just an excellent defensive stop there for a fourth down, which was much needed after somewhat of a demoralizing blow, missing that field goal, an issue that has plagued this team these past few weeks. And looks like Sieben is able to limp off the field under mostly his own volition, but he's going to get a little bit of help from his teammates and the trainers there. Again, hoping that he is all right, but the punting team for the Sage Hens back out onto the field.
Indeed, we don't like to see those, Richie, those injuries. They can be very detrimental to either team. Kyle Sieben is a key linebacker for this Chapman defense, and so it'd be a shame for the Chapman defense if Kyle Sieben was indeed injured and no longer able to re-enter the game. But here's the special teams now. The punter for the Sage Hens entering the game right now. Punt is underway. Chapman waving for a fair catch. They do get the fair catch, and that will get a fresh set of downs and a new opportunity for this Chapman offense to put together a successful drive after missing that critical field goal.
One thing is, Rob, is that these Sage Hens, after that first miscommunication from the Panthers early on in the game where they had that deep ball completed with the defense breaking down, they have not had anything going since then. It's been well over 20 minutes of gameplay time since these Sage Hens have scored. And so if you're Coach Shine, you're out in the huddle there with your team and your offense, you're saying, guys, listen, we're up by 9. That's a 2-score game. Of course, we want to stay aggressive. We also want to drown out that clock.
Snap underway. Here's McAleer looking again. Almost made a completion right there to Brendan Manzano, but it winds up in an incompletion. Brady McAleer really showing what he could do with his arm later as this game has continued to progress, Richie.
Absolutely. I mean, they're airing it out a little bit, and one of the things I mentioned earlier was we haven't really been able to see a lot of McAleer this year, and especially not this game, but it's a good sign for the Panthers and for this home crowd that He's slinging that rock.
He's slinging it indeed, and he hands it off to Andrew Lotz, who gets a little bit of a spin move right there, but it winds up in a third down for the Panthers. Of course, Chapman doing what they do best, running that football. Latu being no exception to this trend. He has been very critical in getting the ball through those narrow gaps in the left open by the D lineman, and that's why we saw a little bit of a carry right there. And when it comes to this ball right here, they are just what looks to be 2 yards short of a first down.
Absolutely, Rob. We'll see what the Panthers have going for us here on this third down. Huss still not in the game, going with Latu there for the third down running back.
McAleer handing it off. A little bit of a scuffle right there. Will Latu get the first down? Was it enough power right there, enough inches to really move forward?
It appears that it's short of the line to gain there, which brings up short down instance. The Panthers are going to keep their offense out there for the moment being.
Indeed, Richie, and now the offense doing what they can right now. Can they make the final push to get the first down? And it appears that it will be just short of the first down. The handoff was to Latu. So it will indeed be short of a first down for this Chapman team. And if you're the Sage Hands offense, you got to be feeling good about where the ball is placed right now.
Ruling on the field as a runner was short of the
Just
line
a
to
very
gain.
puzzling
First down,
play call
Pomona-Pitzer.
to go for it.
Timeout on the field.
In
Officials
your own
timeout for
territory,
injury.
especially down that deep in your own territory with so much game clock to go and with a 9-point lead. Coach Shine trying to be aggressive, but again, that middle line, which they've been running it up all game, has been struggling, and so it's a very, very confusing, puzzling play call for the Panthers, though the defense has to get back on the field. But for the time being, there's yet another injury. Been a few of those tonight, Rob.
Yeah, it's something that we don't like to see a lot, but of course it's a big aspect of the game of football, Richie. The injuries are constant every season when it comes to any football team. A big part of the game is being able to overcome those injuries and stay healthy throughout the entire season, so that way when it does come down to the wire, when it does come down to the latter half of the season, when the games really do matter and the playoffs, or in this case the SCIAC championship, is on its way, you cannot afford any injuries. And the goal at this point is to really stay healthy and still deliver when the time comes.
Absolutely, Rob. Could not agree more, but with a short field, the Sage Hens offense looks to capitalize on what was a very, very disappointing fourth down attempt from the Panthers.
Sage Hens underway. Oh, here we have Levitt. But a big tackle, big denial right there by Jacob Gowdy, the safety for Chapman, coming in and showing what he can do best when it comes to the passing defense.
I believe that was Kim on that attempt there. Look at the replay here. Kim dumps it off there, and he just gets blown up by Jacob Gowdy. Again, the former first team All-SCIAC, superstar safety, all-region third team. He's making a mark tonight with that interception earlier and with that tackle for loss on
now
that
here's
play right
second
there.
down for this Sage Hens offense. Snap underway. Levitt makes an incomplete pass. Intended receiver right there was over to Brandon Dragomir, but wasn't able to get his hands on the ball, and that will wind up in a third down for the Sage Hens offense.
And here we go, a big third down for both teams here, as after that fourth down attempt was knocked short for the Panthers, it would feel great to get a stop here, particularly because this game is still not yet out of reach entirely. A lot of clock to go here.
And now here's Nick Kim again, getting a snap underway, shotgun snap underway, looks right, finds an open lane, ball in the air, and a big catch right there by Jackson Irons, or excuse me, Jackson Walker, one of the key wide receiver pieces of this Pomona-Pitzer team. And now the Sage Hens are right at the doorstep of scoring a touchdown on this drive.
I mean, just an excellent throw there by Nick Kim, finding him right in the corner there, drops it in a bucket like you're dropping a coin into a coin slot, and now they're poised here in the red zone.
And it appears that that play will not get the last push that Pomona-Pitzer needed to get into the touchdown. That will wind up in a Sage Hens second down. Little bit of a yardage carry right there. Of course, if you're Pomona, you're still really close to the end zone, and they're just ready to get a touchdown in right now.
A rare run there from Pomona. That was Jack Susank there, and they're around the 2-yard line here. Susank in motion.
And that will indeed wind up in a Pomona-Pitzer touchdown. Great run right there by number 6, Jack Susank, running the football in there. Great touchdown. And now the score will be Chapman 16, Pomona-Pitzer 13.
And right there, Rob, we see that a little bit of the script has been flipped here with Luke Levitt running the ball in, number 9 there, the quarterback. We haven't seen a whole lot of him. We've seen a little bit. He's played minimally this entire season, but when he does play, he uses his legs, and any quarterback that uses his legs is quite the advantage to the team that has him. So let's see the extra point now on this play.
And now the extra point does indeed go good for Pomona-Pitzer's favor, and now Pomona-Pitzer is just 2 points short of matching Chapman's 2-point lead, 16-14. If you're Chapman, you're a little bit on the edge right now as Pomona is starting to make a comeback and really getting to Chapman during this third quarter.
And now we see here, Rob, we mentioned earlier, we talk about strategy. What does it mean to have a strategy? Earlier on, I mentioned that there was a little bit less pressure on this Chapman offense. However, now in just a 2-point game, still almost 20 minutes to play in the game in total, but a close game at that. How do we shift strategy here as we see a replay here on that play? The quarterback, Luke Levitt, goes into the end zone, barreling his way in. And for the Panthers, it's very easy to lose sight of your strategy. It's easy to lose sight of what you do well. But my advice, and what I hope Coach Shine is telling these Panthers down on the field level, is do not lose sight of what you do well. Keep running that ball and keep experimenting with McAleer over the middle and deep.
Here's Gage Islak now with the kickoff. Return specialist for Chapman running the football. Here's Brendan Manzano now, getting a yardage gain of about 10 yards, but there's a flag on the play.
Very solid play there on that run. You like to see it, but there is a penalty marker. Looks like it could go against the Panthers here. We will have to wait and see what the men in white and black have to say.
During the return, holding return team number 28, 10-yard penalty, first down.
It's a penalty
Chapman.
on the Panthers as expected, but the Panthers have to be resilient here in this moment. As Rob mentioned, it's a bit of a comeback mounting up in the away stadium, and one of the storylines we talked about today, Rob, was the fact that just a few short weeks ago, Chapman went into their turf, the Pomona-Pitzer Sage Hens, that is, went in and won 70-10. So if you're the Sage Hens, you would love to do the same here on senior night and crush a lot of dreams.
Indeed, Richie. And now here's a snap underway. Brady McAleer looking for the hands of Brendan Manzano, but unfortunately the pass does end up incomplete right there. A little bit of frustration if you're on the Panther side, as there is a little bit of challenges going on right now.
Agreed, Rob, and one of the things I mentioned is not losing sight of who you are and not losing sight of your strategy. One of the things that I feel has been frustrating for the Panthers is that they have not been able to feature our player of the game, Cade Zimmerman, much. Since early on in the second quarter, he had the big catch of around 20 yards, just a few yards short of that in the first half, but we haven't seen a lot of him since. So the Panthers have to step it up and start using him well.
Here's Brady McAleer now with the ball, looking left. Takes a pass at it. Almost picked right there by the Sage Hens defense. The intended receiver looked like it was going for Cash Henjum, and it winds up in a Panthers third down.
And that was just a puzzling throw there from McAleer, and that was almost intercepted. An equally puzzling drop from Kalani Pickett. I mean, he has the best hands out on the entire field, and so when you see things like that, you got to be curious what's going on. Are the balls slippery tonight? what's going on, because there's been quite a few drops. But anywho, the Panthers get a second chance of life here on third down.
And here's the pass. Brendan Manzano again getting his hands on the football. Fortunately for Chapman, wasn't able to do much of that, and that will wind up in a Panthers fourth down and a call to the special teams.
I mean, he gets absolutely killed there on the play by Jake Sugawara, and that was exactly what the Sage Hens needed in terms of momentum. The way that this game has gone, it's been kind of back and forth, and although we are here representing Chapman, it has been great to see the back and forth. It has been a great game, and here we go with the punt.
Punt is underway. Here's the Sage Hens return specialist running the football. Gets stopped right there, just short of the 45-yard line. That return specialist was number 81, Jackson Irons, a receiver for the Sage Hens offense. He had a yardage gain of about 5 yards right there.
And we're going to see again, what have we said before? There's a flag there in the backfield. It looks like that may have been another instance of a personal foul roughing the punter, but we're going to head down to the field and see what it is.
Running into the kicker, defense, number 56, 5-yard penalty, fourth down.
And it appears that Chapman will get a little bit of a break right there, as there was a roughing the kicker penalty. If you're the return team, the punt return team, and this penalty happens to you, that's probably the most disappointing penalty that you can get, because that basically sets you up again.
And we're gonna re-punt here. Carson Nichols out there to punt yet again.
Punt's underway. Another return by number 81, Jackson Irons. Finds a little bit more space on that play, and it winds up just short of the Chapman's 45-yard line. And a good position right there for the Sage Hens offense.
And got to be careful here. I mean, the Panthers are playing with fire. They've allowed a little bit of a comeback here tonight, and this offense, with the leadership of both Nick Kim and Luke Levitt, have inspired confidence in not only their teammates, but also among their fans in the stands watching, as they hope to crush the dreams of all these seniors here tonight.
Crush the dreams indeed. Let's see, what can this Pomona-Pitzer team do? Here's the pass, finds the hands of Brendan Dragamer, but he gets tackled just after Chapman's 45-yard line for a yardage gain of about 5 yards right there, or 3 yards, excuse me, and that will end up in a Sage Hens second down.
And here we have, again back in the game, Nick Kim for the Sage Hens.
Kim now with possession of the ball. He's scanning the field, and he gets sacked right there by the Panthers. That was a sack right there by number 90, Tyler Boynton, the MVP of last week's game against CMS. What a sack right there.
And the Panthers are panicking a little bit. Tate Zimmerman's on his way out, but welcome to the show, Tyler Boynton. An absolutely crucial play that sets up a third down here. As we see the replay, Boynton gets in there working off the guard. Gets held perhaps for a second, and that's gonna set up a crucial third down. It feels like we've been saying that the entire game, but it has been that close all game, Rob, as we see third down here for the Sage Hens.
Third down, a little bit of a motion right there by the offense. Here's Levitt now, or Nick Kim, excuse me, and he gets tackled short right there, and that will end up in a fourth down right there, that time again by Tyler Boynton. One of the key pieces of this Chapman defense. What a tackle right there by Boynton.
Call him Deacon Jones, call him Aaron Donald. We say in this house, what do we call him? Tyler Boynton. Here with the replay, it is a coverage sack, and he did have a little bit of help, but the way that he accelerates into the quarterback, Nick Kim, to finish the job with the sack is super, super inspiring. And in this household, we love Tyler Boynton.
And now here's the special teams of the Pomona-Pitzer team, punting the ball away. Chapman waving for a fair catch. The fair catch is indeed caught. That was caught right there by number 11, Eugene Miyata, one of the return specialists. And now Chapman has an opportunity to go into the latter half of this third quarter with a successful offensive drive, maybe a score going into the fourth.
Absolutely, and a bit of a penalty marker there on the play, but that momentum that has been ever so changing all night has been picked back up by the Panthers with, again, a 2-point lead off to back-to-back sacks by Tyler Boynton. Again, as Rob mentioned, last week's MVP led the entire field in tackles.
Kick, personal foul. Receiving team number 33, half the distance to the goal. First down, Chapman.
Bit of a personal foul there. It's going to bring the Panthers back. But as I was saying, Tyler Boynton won MVP last week. 12 tackles, had more tackles than anybody else on the football field. 3 tackles for loss, a sack and a half, if my memory does correct me. What a huge defensive standing for the Panthers. And now the offense in a huddle. Coach Shine is hyping these guys up. They know what they have to do on this drive. Run the ball. Finish the job and feature Cade Zimmerman again, because it has been far too quiet for the best receiver in all of SCIAC and one of the best receivers in the region. Of course, the former D1 player, but as we can see, Rob, in spite of the fact that they're being sent back here, the Panthers have to feel good.
Indeed, Richie, as you mentioned, we haven't been seeing a lot of Cade Zimmerman in this second half of the game. Of course, Tyler Pacheco being injured might be a key variable in why that is the case. Brady McAleer still kind of figuring out a little bit of what he can do on offense. He has been running the ball mainly, and it looks like he did run the ball right now again, and that will wind up in a Panthers second down. But as you were saying, Richie, I totally agree with you. You haven't been seeing a lot of Cade Zimmerman. And Richie, if I had to say what was one of the reasons for why that might be the case, I think part of the reason is indeed Tyler Pacheco being out of the game and Brady McAleer still figuring out what exactly he wants to do when it comes to the passing and rushing game.
Absolutely right, Rob. That is a very valid point to be made as we see here on 2nd and 9. What do the Panthers got for us?
Here's the handoff. Handoff over to Fisher Huss. Fisher Huss gets tackled for a yardage gain of about 3 yards. Fisher Huss, of course, still being a key instrumental player for this Chapman offense on the running game.
Absolutely, and as much as we talk about Cade Zimmerman, it has also been curious to see the disappearance of Fisher Huss. It seems as if every time he gets the ball, his burst, his contact balance, his speed is of the utmost crucial aspect, especially off of that left tackle Lane 40, who has been a stud for the Panthers thus far. And as commentators, we want to see more of Fisher Huss. It's been a while and he hasn't gotten as many touches as most people want, but here we have the end of the third quarter. Some scoring from the Pitzer Sage Hens in that quarter. And
indeed, Richie, and I do have to give a quick shout out to the Chapman left tackle. It is Lane 40, number 52. Last week he got 4 sacks, or excuse me, not 4 sacks, 4 recovered fumbles in the game right there. Two recovered fumbles right there in the game last week, and that was an instrumental reason in Chapman walking away with a win last week. Of course, this team still not done tonight. There's still a lot of football to be played. We are just about to go underway with the fourth quarter.
Absolutely, Rob, and we have to interrupt this moment to say that there's a lot of fans celebrating here, nothing to do with football, but due to the fact that the Dodgers just went up in the top of the 11th inning of the World Series with another 1.1 innings left to play. And so forgive us for our lack of focus, because the whole stadium is rocking with fans screaming and hugging and embracing. But anywho, Rob, we do have a bit of a injury again on the field. That's got to be the 5th or 6th of the evening, but of course he is able to walk off, no carts necessary, as here we go. Here it is. This is the final quarter here at Ernie Chapman Stadium tonight, and so we're gonna see what does McAleer and company have in store for us in this quarter.
Indeed, Richie. Let's see what else is left of this game. Right now, there's still a lot of football to be played, and as you mentioned, this stadium right now is not only focused on this game that's happening on the field right now, but also at the game, the baseball game, I should say, happening in Canada with the World Series on the line right now. And now Chapman about to go underway with this fourth quarter. Of course, the Chapman still has possession of the ball right now. and we are just about to go underway with the fourth quarter.
Absolutely, Rob. Fourth quarter underway. The stakes are high down here in Ernie Chapman Stadium.
Here's Brady McAleer looking right. He finds an open lane, and he rushes the ball forward, gets a first down right there, gets Chapman out of the tough positioning that they were in.
It looks like there's going to be a late hit penalty on the Sage Hens. Yet another. They've had to have had around 3 or 4 penalties. We see a replay here. McAleer takes it out, and he misses a man there. Looking like his QB1 on that play, but a very quality run there from the backup McAleer.
After the play, personal foul, late hit, defense number 2. 15-yard penalty added to the end of the run, automatic. First down.
And that is a huge penalty for the Panthers. That builds a lot of momentum, which is much needed at this stage of the game. Of course, only 14:48 left to play, but still only a 2-point deficit. A score, preferably a touchdown for the Panthers here, would be huge.
A touchdown would indeed be huge, Richie. And now, as we just saw right there, Brady McAleer seems to be kind of figuring out a little bit of what he can do on offense. Here's the snap underway, hands it off to Fisher Huss. Huss getting a yardage gain of about 4 yards on that last play right there. But as you mentioned, Richie, right now what we're seeing is a little bit of what Chapman is famous for in most of its games. It's that middle of the game where they tend to slow down a little bit. But when it comes to that fourth quarter, Chapman historically, I should say, has been able to deliver when it comes to fourth quarter drives. And so what we're seeing right now is a little bit of that fourth quarter passion, I believe. Here's the handoff. Fisher Huss now gets denied again. Gets the
deck there. And I like what they're trying to do, facilitating the usage of Fisher Huss. Has had a relatively quiet
Officials
night.
timeout for injury.
There's another injury on the field. It looks to be a lineman on this one. Not sure who it is yet, but this gives us a moment to discuss. I mean, this is another third down moment for the Panthers. Although they're focused on the player, it does appear that these starters will have a moment to sort of relax and discuss, and that's unfortunately number 71, the right tackle, Zach Miller from Washington State, a D1 transfer, has made a few appearances across the years. He was the 8th ranked O-lineman in all of OC prior to his senior season. In fact, he was actually the 63rd overall offensive tackle prospect, according to 247 Sports. And so he's been a solid staple for these Panthers for a minute, and it is a blow to see him go down. 78, Mateo Martinez coming in the game, the freshman out of Palo Alto. He's able to get off the field with his 2 teammates.
Richie, I do want to take a moment to actually highlight a unique scenario that we're seeing with this Chapman team. It's important to note that Chapman hasn't had a bye week this entire season since the very beginning of the season after their first week of football, and since then have been having a game every week. If you ask me, Richie, I think that's pretty difficult to do, and considering that this Chapman team has gone on its 5 consecutive game winning streak, that's pretty impressive. Here's the play. Brady McAleer finds Cade Zimmerman. Zimmerman finds an open lane. He gets a big reception right there and gets a huge Chapman first down.
And just a huge play there from the star receiver, Cade Zimmerman, looking like Jalen Waddle against Georgia in the 2018 National Championship game, taking the screen pass for a solid 20 to 25 yard off his blockers out there through the lane, gets taken down, but a much needed Panthers first down.
Big first down indeed right there, Richie. And now, let's see, was that the spark plug that this offense needed? Handoff over to Latu. But Latu is stopped by the Sage Hens defense. In moments like these, Richie, sometimes you just need a spark plug of a play to get this team motivated and to make these offensive drives count.
Absolutely. A spark plug is exactly the type of player that Cade Zimmerman is. Of course, the run there not really going much anywhere, but the Panthers already marching down right on or beyond the Sage Hens 30-yard line, and they have to feel good about the start of this drive.
Here's the play, about to go underway. Snap over to McAleer. McAleer handing it off to Latu. Latu finds some space, and he gets just enough yardage to get what appears to be a Chapman Panthers first down. Chapman continuing to move the chains down the field. And this is a big break right here if you are the Panthers. Richie, we've been saying it a lot tonight, but here's the replay. Latu, as you saw, reading the O-line, and the O-line getting good spacing, getting him the gap that he needs to run the football through and eventually get Chapman this big first down right here.
For sure, Rob. Let's see what we have here.
Snap underway. Handoff over to Latu. And Latu will gain a few more yards on that play, but it will end up in a Panthers second down.
And I like what they're doing here. There is still a lot of time, and so for the Panthers, you're gonna want to kill some clock, especially if you have any intentions of scoring here. Don't want to give the Sage Hens too much time, but you also want to be aggressive enough to where your plays are productive. And so McAleer here with Latu in the backfield, looking at the sidelines, hearing chirping, trying to come up with a play.
Indeed, Richie, here's the snap, about to go underway. McAleer looking left, finds the hands of Cade Zimmerman, but the ball just goes right out of his hands. Big missed opportunity for this Chapman offense. And now we will moment to toss our coverage of the game over to our sideline reporter, our very own Caroline Chang.
Hi, my name is Caroline Chang, and although you have not seen me, I've been down here on the sideline, and the atmosphere is sticky and tense. Something that Chapman could not afford with this game were injuries, and that is exactly what Pomona-Pitzer was able to do. Take out some of the Panthers' key players. Devin Cobb was one of the first to get out earlier in this game, and he was on crutches. I saw him there earlier, followed by Tyler Pacheco, who looks like he is not going to continue to play because I see him right now in crutches as well as wearing a boot. And then finally, I also saw Kyle Sieben getting treated on the med table. And because of that, Chapman's offense is struggling. And Pomona-Pitzer is capitalizing on this high and riding that momentum to give them a little edge in their aggression. That's all I have for you. I'll send it back up to the booth.
Thank you very much, Caroline. As Caroline noted, there's still a little bit of unease about Tyler Pacheco re-entering the game, but it appears that right now Chapman will try to get a field goal in to increase their lead to a 19-14 lead. Let's see how the kick goes. Kick goes through the goal for Chapman, and that will add 3 points to their lead. Chapman still maintains the lead in this game. And Richie, if I'm Chapman, I'm still feeling a little bit uneasy with how close this game has gone.
Absolutely, Rob. Feeling a little uneasy. Of course, Nichols puts it through 2 for 3 on the night. And you were hoping for a touchdown there, but any points definitely work here on that drive, as it is now at least more than a 2-point game, of course. Had that score remained, it would have just taken a field goal for the Sage Hens to defeat, or at least lead, the Chapman Panthers. And here we go again. These games have been really close, except for, I believe, the game that Chapman played against Laverne earlier in the season. I believe one more. Most of these games have been really, really close, and that's something that Coach Shine had talked to you about.
Indeed, Richie. Coach Shine has talked a lot about the theme of these games coming down to the wire for this Panthers team. And of course, a common theme that this team has gone through has been maintaining their composure and delivering when it comes to the fourth quarter. But here's the return by Pomona. Big return going on so far. That was a big kick return right there by one of the return specialists. That was number 28 from the Pitzer side. And that will set Pomona-Pitzer up just short of the 45-yard line. If I'm Pomona-Pitzer, I'm feeling pretty good about that kick return.
Absolutely. Very good about that kick return. And past 10:37 left on the clock. With fans celebrating, I think the Dodgers just won the World Series. Let me pass it back to you, Rob.
And here's the play. Play going underway. And that will wind up and that will wind up in a second down for the Sage Hens.
And here we go. Continuing on, clock running down, 10:13 to go.
Here's the snap. Levitt now finding the hands of his receiver, and that winds up in a Sage Hens first down.
Great pass there for the Sage Hens, and that's going to move the chains. A very valiant play there from the offense, and early on in this drive, we already have this offense rolling with the leadership of, I believe that is Luke Levitt now back in the game, the lefty dual threat.
And now here's Luke Levitt now, still scanning the field, throws the ball just out of the sideline, and that will wind up in an incompletion for the Sage Hens and a third down.
Absolutely, and he hit the deck there.
Second down, excuse me.
Second down on the play. Hit the deck there. That was Aiden Yates on the late hit, the sophomore, the linebacker. And for this Sage Hens team, they have 4 receivers out left. They are not going to stop tossing the rock here. Official blows the whistle. Maybe some disagreement. Appears there's a penalty on the flag, excuse me.
Intentional grounding, offense number 9.
And it
Penalty includes loss of down.
Looks as though there's an intentional grounding there from Luke Levitt there. Did not have a receiver in the general area. And wow, that's a huge penalty there against the Sage Hens. Makes it second and less manageable here. And for the Panthers, that's exactly what you need on these types of important drives late in this game.
Correction, third down.
Yes, Richie, those plays do end up moving the needle when it comes to this games. And now here's the Sage Hens on third down, just a few yards short, or excuse me, what appears to be like 15 yards short of a first down. Can they deliver? Here's the pass to Luke Levitt. Ball is incomplete, and that will wind up in a Sage Hens fourth down.
Incomplete pass there. We have fourth down, 4th and 10, and so we are again going to get to see McAleer and the Panthers offense, assuming that there are no offsetting penalties here or fumbles on this punt, with the Panthers getting the ball back late in this game, hoping to extend this lead. It's only a 5-point game, which in games this late, that is not a safe lead.
And here's the punt right now. Chapman waving for a fair catch. Catch is indeed made. Eugene Miyata waving for a fair catch, and that sets Chapman up for a fresh set of downs right at the 25-yard line.
And it appears here that we have some celebration in the audience. The Los Angeles Dodgers are your 2025 World Series champions. The whole place is going nuts. The PA announcer just told everyone that does not already know. And back immediately to the game, though, because we have a game to commentate down on this field. We got to see here. Crunch time.
And now here's the play. Brady McAleer handing the football off, or not handing the football off. He's looking. Throws the ball out of the sidelines, and that's going to wind up in a Panthers second down.
Threw the ball downfield there. Again, testing that arm. Very strong arm. Haven't seen much of that all season, as I've previously mentioned a few times. But McAleer looking to test the Sage Hens defense a bit late. And again, not sure about the play call there on first down. Again, you want to kind of kill that clock while doing what you're good at. They had a good thing going a little bit earlier on in the quarter with Fisher Huss, and you got to wonder if they're going to go back to him at all on this drive.
Indeed, Richie. Let's see if they are able to go back to it on this drive. Snap about to go underway. Shotgun snap. Gets tackled right there. Big denial. That was by number 44 on the defense. Samuel Wyatt getting a big tackle right there on Chapman.
And here we see, we're going to go ahead and look at a replay on this play. Again, as I've mentioned previously on this broadcast, the men up front for the Sagehens have given the Panthers a lot of trouble. As you can see here, the bruising left guard, of course, that is Gavin Scott, hit his block, but the center has just been struggling all evening long. And we're gonna see another play here from this offense.
And now, here's McAleer. McAleer with the big hands. And a reception right there by Cade Zimmerman that moves the chains for this Chapman team. And Chapman gets out of that slump right there. And now Chapman is continuing forward with this drive in the fourth quarter. 8 minutes on the clock.
And who else? You already know the guy who put up over 100 yards, 6 catches, and a touchdown last week. We've been calling his name intermittently, but strongly all night. That was Cade Zimmerman on the reception. Again, over the middle, up the seam.
Now play about to go underway. Motion by the offense. Handoff over to Fisher-Huss. Fisher-Huss might have gained about a yard on that play, but it wasn't much of a gain right there, and that will wind up in a Panthers second down.
Absolutely, Rob. And again, after that Cade Zimmerman play, the Panthers are set up pretty well here, already on their own 45 after just a handful of plays, And on a 2nd and 7 play, they're going to be looking to get that down on a run here, I would assume. But you never know with Coach Shine's offense, and you never know what they're going to do, as they have proven to be unpredictable, even without Pacheco in the game.
They have been proven to be effective. And here's Brady McAleer handing it off again to Fisher-Huss. Fisher-Huss pushing forward yet again. He's able to get just enough right there. Yardage gain of about 6 yards, and it's just short of a first down for the Panthers, and it will wind up in a third down, but they are just a yard short of making it a first down and continuing on this strong offensive drive.
For the Panthers, keep running the ball. You just need 1 yard, and we're going to see what Coach Shine has to do here on third down. Looking back to the sidelines are both the halfback and the quarterback, as well as a few offensive personnel, and we're going to see what Coach Shine has cooking here.
Here's Coach Shine communicating with his team. Handoff over to handoff over by Brady McAleer. He finds an open lane. He's running the football even forward. He goes just out of the sideline to the left. What a big play right there by Brady McAleer.
And what an unpredictable play call from Coach Shine, digging deep into his bag on that call. What an awesome, unpredictable, as we just said, unpredictable play call here on the replay. They call a fake and have the usually pocket passing Brady McAleer run it out as if he was chasing Tyler Pacheco, or as I like to call Action Jackson on that play. A huge Panthers first down.
Big Panthers first down indeed. And now if I'm the Chapman offense, I'm feeling energetic. I'm feeling like I want to keep pushing forward and get that scoring position in right now. Let's see what Chapman can do. Snap about to go underway. Brady McAleer handing it off over to his running back, but gets stopped immediately by the Pomona-Pitzer defense. Wow, Richie, I still can't believe that play happened right there. We saw earlier, Pacheco being known to really run the football. Right there, what we just saw right there was Brady McAleer showing almost elements of what Pacheco can do when it comes to offense.
Absolutely, and depending on that injury, you love to see that if you're a fan of these Chapman Panthers, that you have a guy who has showcased some very solid arm strength tonight, but also is running the rock at a decent rate so far. And teams in the future, if this is more than just this week with McAleer, teams are going to start having to prepare for his legs.
Snap underway, a little bit of a missed snap right there, but Brady McAleer is able to recover it. Big scare right there by the Panthers offense. Almost lost control of the football. It will wind up in a third down for this Panthers offense, and a loss of yardage right there on that last play.
And just a huge scare there for the Panthers. They're gonna set up a 3rd and long situation. And a lot of that momentum has sort of drifted away here with the sideline of Pomona-Pitzer raging and yelling and trying to create a distraction for McAleer and these Panthers.
Here's a snap underway. McAleer looking right. And it ends up in an incomplete pass right there. missed opportunity, but good coverage from the Sage Hens defense. The intended receiver was Cash Henjum, but unfortunately for Henjum and for Brady McAleer, they weren't able to turn that into the first down that they needed. And here comes the Panthers special teams.
Great coverage indeed, Rob. There was nothing going there for the Panthers, and out trots Carson Nichols, 2 of 3 on the night on field goals, and this is a huge field goal. If he makes this, this is an 8-point game. That is very manageable compared to the 5-point game it is now, but we'll have to see what happens down on the field.
And here's Carson Nichols with the field goal attempt. And the field goal attempt is good for Chapman, and they have now increased their lead 22-14. And if you're Chapman, you're feeling a little bit better about that lead now. Of course, it's not, the game is still far from over, Richie, but now had this Pomona-Pitzer's team got another touchdown in, they would not take the lead.
Absolutely, Rob. Moving back down again, the S word, strategy. 4 minutes and 5 seconds left. Not a lot of time for these Pomona-Pitzer Sage Hens, to come back, but just enough time for the Panthers to strategize. What do we need to do to maintain this 8-point lead? I'll tell you what the Pomona-Pitzer Sage Hens are not doing, running the ball. So don't worry too much about physicality in the run game up front. They are not going to run the ball. They have to pass the ball, which they have done all night at a solid rate, but not at a superb rate. So if you're Coach Shine, you are telling your guys, hey, relax up front, drop back a little bit. Linebackers, be warned, I'm not going to see a lot of blitzing here, a lot of coverage. I'm curious to see what's going to happen between the budding quarterbacks, of course, 2 quarterbacks, those being Nick Kim as well as Luke Levitt.
Return is underway. Pomona doesn't wait for a fair catch. They're going for it. And he finds an open lane. He's getting away from the Panthers defense, and he's unblocked. He's makes a huge gain right there, gets just kicked out of the sideline, but what a kick return right there by Jackson Irons. Whoa, my goodness, Richie. And what a breakdown right there by that Chapman defense.
And what a return, turning back the clock, looking like Darrell Patterson back when he played for the Chicago Bears, taking it all the way up the sideline. As we see the highlight here, he breaks in, he breaks out, number 81. Of course, getting chased there, uses the sideline to his advantage, eventually pushed out, but stumbles. An extremely valiant effort there from Jackson Irons to set his team up well to score here late in the 4th quarter.
And now Pomona set up almost near Chapman's red zone. He finds the hands of Brendan Drogemer, who gets rushed right out of the sideline, but that's all he needs to keep moving the ball forward. That will wind up in what appears to be a first down, or excuse me, second down for this Sage Hens offense.
It's gonna be second and short here for the Sage Hens, as Brendan Drogemer is a name that we haven't called too much. When we do call his name, he is an effective player. We're gonna see if they continue to use him for the remainder of this drive or beyond that.
Snap about to go underway, shotgun snap. Luke Levitt trying to run the football a little bit. Does he get enough yardage? It appears that he does get enough yardage, and that's just all he needs to move the chains again for the Sage Hens offense and get a first down and to get right near the goal line of this Chapman end zone.
Precisely, Rob. First down there for the Sage Hen. The clock is ticking, just under 3 minutes to play, 2:52 left in regulation, and you got to expect, again, more passes from these Sage Hens. And again, the Panthers have to stay disciplined, have to make sure they don't get beat one-on-one over the top, as there's some mismatches down on your screen there.
And here's Luke Levitt again, looking for his receiver. He gets the catch, but the refs are saying the pass was incomplete right there. Looks like he had just missed the end zone, wasn't able to get his feet down. That catch right there was made to Jackson Walker. It goes right out of bounds, and now that will wind up in a Sage Hens second down. Big sigh of relief if you're Chapman, but of course, they're still not out of the woods, Richie.
And that was a great play right there by Caleb Padrid, the junior out of Dublin, California, making him and forcing him to be out of bounds. But here we go here on second down.
Motion by the offense. Luke Levitt about to using a little bit of a hard count, it appears. And there's a flag on the play. The hard count might have gotten the defense right there. Let's find out shortly what the verdict is from the referees.
Delay of game, offense, number 9, 5-yard penalty, second down.
It's going to be a delay game there on the offense, and even though it's only 5 yards, where are you at this point in the field? A 5-yard penalty sort of changes everything and acts as a demoralizing sort of thing for this Sage Hens offense. What was once a first and I believe 10, or if not a little less than that, now becomes first and about 15, second down that is, and that changes things. Nick Kim back in the game.
Indeed, and here's the snap underway. Nick Kim gets denied right there by Chapman defender Andrew Buck, the inside linebacker, getting a good read on that ball and denying the Sage Hens any yardage gain on that play. That will wind up in a third down.
The former Eastern Michigan linebacker has had a very solid season, coming up huge on that play for the Panthers. And here we go, a huge third down, the biggest play of the game for this Panthers defense. Let's see what play call both teams have for us in store in this very, very intense moment.
Very big moment right here in the game, Richie. Let's see what happens. Here's quarterback Nick Kim trying to hand it off over to Brendan Dragamer. And it appears that the Chapman defense is able to get the best of that play, and that winds up in a Sage Hens fourth down.
And that's gonna be all. It's a fourth down here, and for the Sage Hens, it's all or nothing. You gotta go for it. There is not enough time left in this game to go for 3 and hope for your defense to make a
2
stop,
minute
because
timeout.
This is it. I believe the Sage Hens are gonna call, or excuse me, it's the 2-minute warning here for this game. And Rob, as I've mentioned, one of the most important aspects in football is staying true to your identity. And the thing that I've been seeing all night is when these Sage Hens do take shots deep or take shots toward the end zone, they try to exploit those mismatches. I would not be surprised, Rob, if they do a one-on-one ball out to one of those receivers on the outside boundary.
Indeed, Richie, and right now what we're seeing on the line is this Sage Hens team being at a very tough decision. If they do kick a field goal, that's basically going to go for nothing, because as what's showing on the clock right now, 2 minutes, you cannot count on that field goal to then eventually get the ball back later on, because Chapman will just waste the clock. So what the Sage Hens team has to do right now is decide, you know, what play exactly is going to get us just the yardage that we need to maybe get at the very least a first down, if not a score right here. And of course, if the Sage Hens do get a touchdown, they need to go for the 2-point conversion if they want to remain competitive. The game is on the line right here for the Sage Hens. If this Chapman defense can lock it down right now, they could almost certainly lock down the win. Luke Levitt now, ball in the air, and a denial right there. Incomplete pass by the Chapman defense. Great read right there. And now that's going to end up in a turnover on downs.
And for all we know, Rob, of course anything can happen, but that seems to be the dagger there for the Chapman defense. And these Chapman Panthers locked him up there on the outside. We just called his name. That's Caleb Perdrib on the boundary. As I mentioned, they wanted to stick true to their identity, at least these Sage Hens, going deep on the outside, one-on-one, trust the man, and the man they trusted was not trustworthy. Kim out there, as we see on the replay, a little bit physical there, but Padrid was the better player. It was a better play by he on that rep. You practice that all the time in practice, and Padrid, very clear that he ate his cornflakes this week.
Yes, indeed, Richie. Padrid has been a very key defensive piece to this Chapman defense, but now it appears that Chapman will get one last key offensive drive, at least before the end of this game. 1 minute and 55 seconds left on the clock. A lot of football left to be played. Here's the handoff over to Fisher Huss.
He's brought down there by the swarming defenders of the Sage Hens. And of course, if you've watched football, you know what stage of the game this is for both teams.
Timeout.
For the Sage Hens, this is desperation time.
They're first of the half.
Time. And for the Panthers, this is get a first down and let's go home time. These Panthers want to go home, an emotional night for everyone, of course. It being senior night, it being a very long semester for everybody. And we're going to go ahead and take a timeout, or excuse me, the Sagehens are going to go ahead and take a timeout.
Sagehens indeed are going to take a timeout. But Richie, since we do have this extra time to talk, I wanted to ask you, given the situation of this game with Chapman up ahead 22-14 and, being a little far back on offense where the Sagehens team, the Sagehens defense can continue to press on this Chapman offense, what exactly does this Chapman team need to do to really lock down the win altogether?
You know what Richard Sherman once said? What'd he say? Run the ball. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. You have the best rushing offense in the entirety of SCIAC, and all you got to do is to bring it home is trust your outside tackles. Have them block for you. Trust that your formations, of course, coached up by Shine here for this entire season, are going to work. Just run the ball, get that first down. Let's go home, and we'll see what happens here.
The numbers don't lie, Richie. And here's the handoff. Brady McAleer still having control of the football. Gets a yardage gain of maybe 2 yards right there, or 1 yard. About 1 yard on the carry, 1 to 2 yards.
Timeout, Pomona-Pitzer, their second of the half.
Pitcher's going to take their second time out of the half here, of course, to stop the clock and discuss. And somewhat of a curious call. I like the idea of mixing it up a bit, though, and execution didn't work as well as the Panthers had hoped. But as we can see here, McAleer takes it outside, but unfortunately for him, he is dragged down there by Jonathan Curry, the outside linebacker, on that play. And now, Rob, we have a conversation for the Panthers. What do you think they're going to do? Are they going to pass it and try to be aggressive and end the game, or are they going to run the ball and trust their defense to make a stop?
To be honest with you, Richie, I think you said it yourself earlier, as Richard Sherman said, which I think is an awesome reference to the NFL. You just can't take risks like that right now. You have a comfortable lead, an 8-point lead. You don't want to take the risk of passing the ball if you don't have to. If you could just run the clock out a little bit more and maybe get a few yardage gains here or there, at the very least maybe one first down or a second first down on this drive, I think that Chapman will be able to lock down this win even more and make it close the door on this Sagehens team from getting another chance to drive the football and get another score in.
Absolutely. We just got word the Panthers are outrunning the Sagehens 210-24, and let's see if that continues here.
Another running play. It appears that running play was by Fisher Huss, but Fisher Huss indeed was on the carry, and it appears that the
Timeout, Pomona-Pitzer, their final of the half.
It appears that the Pomona defense was able to get a good read on that and deny Fisher Huss again of another carry that will end up in a Panthers fourth down. And there's still 1 minute and 38 seconds left on the clock for this game, Richie. That's, as you know in football, that's still a ton of football left to be played. Chapman still not necessarily securing the win. And so, Richie, what do you expect Chapman to do if they do end up punting the ball away? And what do you expect to see from this Sagehens offense?
Well, for one, I just want to say that we got the answer to our question. They ran the ball, of course, from the words of our good friend Richard Sherman, and they are trusting their defense, which has been very solid all evening long, to make a stop. Again, it's an 8-point game, so even if there is a touchdown scored, you do have that added pressure of making that 2-point conversion. But in order for Chapman to win this game, here's what you do. Again, as I mentioned last time, this team, these Sagehens, cannot run the ball, literally because of time and because of the fact that their scheme does not allow for it. And so you really just have to continue to halt those short to intermediate passes, because that is what the Sagehens team does best.
Punt is underway. Sagehens being very lethal on kick and punt returns last quarter, and it appears that this time they are going to wait for a fair catch, and it appears that they will start their drive near the 40-yard line. Good setup if you're the Pomona-Pitzer offense. And of course, the game is really on the line right here in this final latter half of the fourth quarter.
Absolutely, Rob. These Sagehens, of course, they're knocked out of the SCIAC championship contention, but what they are playing for, and which we all have, they are playing for pride, Rob. And let's see if that pride pulls through on their final drive of the game.
Snap about to go underway. On the field for the Sagehens, we have Nick Kim as QB yet again. A little bit of a hard count. Kim with the shotgun snap, passes it over to Brennan Drogemer. Drogemer gets a few yards on that play, but it's just short of a first down for the Sage Hens.
They're going to need to hurry up there as time is running out. Just a minute and 16 seconds left here on the clock. Kim in the game.
Snap underway. Kim looking left, fires the ball, and the Sage Hens do end up getting a first down. That was a huge reception right there by Jack Sabata, one of the key offensive pieces of the Sage Hens offense, and they are knocking at the door of Chapman's red zone almost 20 yards away, of course. If you're Chapman, you need to lock. If you're Chapman defense, you need to lock in on this. Here's the play. Nick Kim with the ball. Big incompletion right there. Excellent execution by the Chapman defense. That was number 8, Caleb Padrid, one of the cornerbacks that me and you have been mentioning a lot tonight, Richie.
Yes, indeed. Indeed, Rob. We see there on that play, Caleb Padrid makes another great play. And I got to say, although that was an incomplete pass, one has to say, again, that might have been a blessing in disguise, as that does stop the clock with just under a minute to go for the Sage Hens, who, again, must score a touchdown to keep this game going.
Here's Nick Kim now with the ball. Looks right, finds the hands of Brennan Drogemer. Brennan Drogemer breaks a tackle and gains a yardage, and gains about 3 yards, 3 to 5 yards on that play. Still is the Sage Hens third down, and right here the game is indeed on the line. 41 seconds, now 40 seconds left on the clock. Snap over to Kim. Kim looking right. Ball is in the air. Big reception right there by number 81. That's Jackson Irons. Again, key offensive pieces of this team coming in clutch. Sage Hens doing everything they can right now to get a last-minute score. Snap is underway. Flag on the play right there.
It appears to be some miscommunication, as I think they were going to go for a fake spike on that play, but it ends up being a penalty against the Sage Hens. But in the midst of all that chaos, Rob, we kind of had to go. But to slow it down for just a second, just some unbelievable turn of events as the Sage Hens have been able to just march down the field seemingly uncontested. And although there's not a lot of time left, the clock is stopped. And that is to the benefit of the Sage Hens, who now can take 3 to 4 shots at the end zone and see what happens. But there is a penalty marker on the play, and you'd have to think it has something to do with the offense.
Indeed, Richie, when there's a lot of desperation from the offense of the Sage Hens, and you know they're trying to move the offense into formation so that way they can make a last-minute score.
Legal substitution, defense more than 11. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
And that's going to be a setback right there for this Chapman defense. A little bit of an illegal substitution. If you're Chapman, you're a little bit on edge right now, if not very much on edge. And now this Sage Hens offense really knocking on the door of scoring a touchdown. Here's the play about to go underway. Snap. And a big completion right there by number 83, Jackson Walker. That is money right there for the Sage Hens.
And what a play call there from the Sage Hens, though there is a flag for the moment. It is a touchdown, and the referees seem to be signaling at the offense, and I think we're going to get an offensive pass interference here, Rob.
Pass interference, offense number 83, 15-yard penalty, still second down.
Good call right there, Richie. Good read. That is why you are an excellent color commentator, Richie. That was indeed an interference.
Is it first down? Is it first down? Is it first down?
A little bit of confusion for the referees here, but again, very tense moment as we have an empty backfield, but the referees there seems to be a little bit of miscommunication among the referees here. And I think Chapman's going to go ahead and call one of their 3 remaining timeouts.
They're first of the half.
This would definitely be a good moment for Coach Shine to get down there and say something along the lines of, guys, we are not behind. We are still winning this game by 8 points. No need to panic. No need to be frustrated. We can bend, but we will not break.
Indeed, Richie, and here's the play.
Of a replay here. That push off, a bit of a questionable call there to Jackson Walker. It seems like he just had him beat, but the field generals down there, the referees, thought otherwise and called that, but that was a huge break for the Panthers.
Indeed, Richie, and had that catch counted for this Sage Hens offense, Jackson Walker would have gotten his second touchdown of the night, but unfortunately for the Sage Hens, that penalty did set them back, and now they are still down to this Chapman team. 21 seconds left on the clock. Can they make something out of this offensive drive? Second down right here, right on the cusp of Chapman's red zone. The refs still communicating with the Sage Hens offense. Richie, if you're the Sage Hens, like, you got to be on the edges of your seat right now. But of course, if you're Chapman, this game is not exactly locked up either.
Absolutely, Rob. This game is not locked up for either side. Obviously, because the Sage Hens have less points than Panthers, and for the Panthers, because they're about the 20-yard line with, again, a few free shots at the end zone. 20 seconds left in the game. You have to think they're going deep to one of their mismatches. Watch Caleb Padrid on the bottom.
Snap is underway. Kim going deep. And it gets nearly picked off by Chapman. Big break right there, but of course, still 16 seconds left on the clock. This game is far from over. That's going to be a Sage Hens third down.
Absolutely. As I mentioned on the replay here, they went down exactly as I mentioned. They love that mismatch, the size mismatch on Caleb Padrid, but Padrid has been rock solid all evening long, and here comes third down. The fans are well into it here. Nick Kim in the game, ready to make a big play.
Nick Kim indeed here. Snap about to go underway. Shotgun. Kim looking, ball in the air, and it ends up in an incompletion and a Sage Hens fourth down. Chapman getting closer to walking away with the victory, but of course, it is the fourth down, and the Sage Hens, with the game on the line, must still continue with the game and go for an attempt towards the Chapman end zone.
And on the replay here, we saw thrown up into traffic, nearly picked off. And here we go, the biggest play of the night for the Sage Hens. The crowd is pumping, it's into it, it's getting chilly. We all want to go home, and we're going to figure out if we're going into overtime or not as the Panthers take a timeout there.
Chapman.
And maybe a good
Their
call
second of the half.
just to get everyone on the same page about the defensive play call on 4th and 20. The odds are in the Chapman Panthers' favor, but in football, so long as there is time on the clock, you should not rest, especially with how this game has gone thus far, Rob.
There cannot be any rest indeed, Richie. And as what we're seeing on the field right now, Chapman is doing everything they can to ice these Sage Hens from coming back offensively. So far, we've seen a strong showing by cornerbacks like Caleb Padrid, denying the intended receiver Jackson Walker of 2 of those passes right there. Richie, if you're this Chapman defense, you just got to keep the same mentality going through your head. Ice the Sage Hens, ice the Sage Hens. We are just 10 seconds short of Chapman, 10 seconds away from Chapman being able to lock down the victory. Of course, a lot of football still left to play when it comes down to these down to the wire games like they are right now, Richie. And so, as you can see, the sidelines are going electric. The stands, the fans are getting up on their feet and are ready to see what the outcome of this game. Richie, it's moments like these that are game defining, and let's see how this game and how this story between Chapman and the Sage Hens will end. Snap underway. Kim with a missed pass, and that's a big moment right there for Chapman. And Chapman was able to walk away with a big defining moment. That it will indeed be the game. 4 seconds left on the clock. The players on the sidelines are celebrating. And wow, Richie, what a conclusion to this game.
And who else? A group effort there. That has been the identity of this defense, an all-around group effort. However, who else but Tade Zimmerman? Again, the former D1 footballer out there, outside linebacker, making the pressure on that play and making this Chapman defense turn from good to elite. What a performance from this defensive line today and from this defense in general. And as I said, Rob, Coach Shine, what did he tell his team? Bend, don't break, and that's exactly what happened there, Rob.
Indeed, Richie, and that will indeed be the conclusion of this game. Chapman will extend their 5 consecutive game winning streak over to a 6th consecutive game win this weekend. And so Chapman continuing to be in the driver's seat when it comes to these SCIAC standings, and they're trying to continue this momentum as they look to go towards the SCIAC championship game 2 weeks away from today.
Absolutely, Rob. Just an unbelievably gritty, unconventional win today. I must say, that was quite the emotional roller coaster. Chapman starting off very, very strong, but by the end of it, maintaining control. Of course, in the end there, that final drive, it seemed as if the Sage Hens had a shot, but at the end of the day, it's that defense that made the stop.
Indeed, Richie, as we saw right there, that last drive by the Sage Hens felt like it lasted almost an eternity. For a moment right there, it seemed like they weren't going to give up and whatnot, but of course, we're going to cut away to our highlights right now. Let's see what we saw throughout the game right here. This is from the first quarter.
And here we go. Let's see, obviously here, that pass attempted there, hit in the air, and that was intercepted by Joey Bustos. They're the outside linebacker off the bounce here. That was early on in the first quarter, of course. Then Nick Kim got in on the action, and their player of the game is going to be our player of the game for that team. Jackson Walker had the touchdown on that play. Next up, Pacheco's going to hand it off there. I believe that is Andrew Latu, who gets a nice bit of a gain there on that play. Next up, here we have the backup lefty QB, Luke Levitt, running it in, looking like Lamar Jackson or Mike Vick in for the game there. And as we see, we have some very, very fun highlights from that game, Rob. That was an entertaining one, and if you joined us tonight, you were definitely in for a treat.
Of course, Richie, and now we will take a moment to toss it over to our most valuable player of the game. And let's toss it over to our very own Caroline Chang for that.
A prominent figure in this game, 2 touchdowns. What's running through your head right now?
I don't know, I'm super excited. You put in all this work for 3 years, and to get that opportunity as a senior is just unreal. And the hard work we just constantly are doing, it's nice to have it show, and just you always, every day, every game is something to prove. So I just wanted to put on for our seniors.
Absolutely. I mean, it was so fun to watch you guys out there. It was tense. I mean, we got a bunch of key players that were injured, which was tough. So what allowed the team to persevere despite those challenges?
I think no matter what, it's next man up. Our team, we're good enough in every stages, every man, and we got the next guy up. This team is amazing, and we just find ways to win and battle through. That's all it is.
Absolutely. You guys definitely battled through. This secured your 6-0 record, giving you a chance at an undefeated conference possibility. So I guess what's the mentality going forward?
I think we're gonna beat Laverne next week, and we're gonna be hosting the Chip this week in 2 weeks. So we're gonna win that, and we're gonna do it for those injured guys, and do it for the seniors, and do it for this team.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jackson. It was wonderful seeing you. We'll send it back up to you at the booth.
Thank you very much, Caroline. And now we will take a moment to look at some of the post-game stats that we saw going into this game. Richie, what do we got for the post-game stats?
But as you can see here, it was quite the puzzling effort there from the Sage Hens on the rushing department, outscored 10-1 in that department. Of course, them beating the Panthers in receiving yards is no surprise if you followed the trends coming up to the state. Of course, both teams had 2 touchdowns, but of course the separation was in those made field goals by the struggling yet reliable Carson Nichols. Of course, this game, for me, I want to, focus on the rushing yard department. One of the things that so many coaches, high school, I remember my coach said this, college, professional, they say that establishing the run is how you win a football game, and that is what the Panthers did on this fine evening.
Of course, Richie, and of course, as you mentioned, the rushing game, and Coach Shine really relying on his key receiving and rushing players to deliver the ball in those key moments was what got Chapman to that moment. But we want to take a moment over here to toss it to our defining moments of the game. Right here we have Brady McAleer looking and finding the hands of Jackson Muzzy for that key Chapman touchdown. One of the only 2 Chapman touchdowns that we saw this evening, but it was just enough to secure Chapman the victory that they needed. And that right there, for those of you who are viewing, is one of the key moments and reasons for why we chose Jackson Muzzy as our most valuable player of the game.
Absolutely.
Well deserved, Richie.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a defining moment, not just because it gave the Panthers the lead, but also because Tyler Pacheco, their star quarterback, had just gotten injured. Every single person in this building was stressed, was feeling demoralized. And guess what? This guy comes in and does it for them on that play.
Indeed, Richie. And now we're going to go to what's going to happen next weekend. Chapman is going to get another shootout against Laverne. Laverne, a team that has only won one game this season. Of course, Chapman looking to continue the good momentum and the good vibrations that Coach Shine mentioned earlier this week. They want to get another win just before going into the SCIAC championship game. Of course, we're seeing the final shootouts. Cal Lutheran taking on Pomona-Pitzer and Redlands taking on CMS. Richie, it's right now a big contest between Redlands and Cal Lutheran. Whoever wins their respective games will likely face off against Chapman in the final SCIAC championship game.
Absolutely, and of course tonight was a huge night for everybody, of course, but especially for these seniors who, whether it be for 1 year, 2 years, or beyond, these seniors have been absolutely huge. But of course, we want to give a special thanks to our CSBN Fall 2025 graduates who, again, whether it be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or more, have poured their blood, sweat, and tears into this organization and bringing the thrill of live sports to you.
They have indeed, Richie, and we are very happy to have all of those seniors with us here tonight. And of course, you know, we saw a really close game for a moment right there, Richie. It had seemed that Pomona-Pitzer would give Chapman a run for their money and ultimately make this game a bit of a shootout going into the fourth quarter, but that Chapman defense was able to deliver at the end of the day. And Richie, as you mentioned, they performed nicely. But that's going to do it for us tonight here. I was your play-by-play commentator, Robert Ariano, joined here by my fabulous color commentator, Richie Amarias. And we wish you all a good night, and thank you for tuning in to CSBN.
Thank you all so much. Y'all take care.